Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Let's Talk Wealth podcast. Today we have an incredible guest, one of my favorite people to hang out with, and just a great friend of mine, Mr. Derrick Paulson. Derrick, thank you so much for being here. We're really excited to have you.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, I'm sure we're going to get into a lot of stuff. You know what I totally forgot to do, and we're recording, so it doesn't matter. I forgot to print your bio, but I know Derrick is a good friend of mine. Runs an incredible construction business. He's fought. Have you fought pro or is it amateur?
Amateur.
Yeah. He's a Jiu-Jitsu Black Belt, and I think one of the things I always enjoy when we're hanging out, man, is just that like you are surprisingly well-read and like surprisingly knowledgeable. Like it's like when people talk about John Danaher, just like knowing a lot about a lot of different things. I always feel like that when we're talking. And I think that in the world we live in, sometimes like, you know, I'm sure people do the same thing with me. Like, oh, there's, you know, especially when we're out and about, it's like you got tattoos, you're a fighter, and people just assume you must be some meathead.
Right.
And dude, you're a smart guy, and you're very, very systematic in the way you approach things, which I really do appreciate, man. But again, really excited to be here and talking with you, and I'm excited to see where this one goes. So as we kick it off, I mentioned to you, and you know, we do the same thing with everyone, is I always like to start the podcast off with a question. And that question is, if you had one message you could share and somehow the entire world was magically going to hear it about something that has positively impacted your life or made a great difference for you, what would that message be that you would share with people?
You know, I thought about it quite a bit, especially since watching the podcast a little bit. I knew that this was, you know, the question that you kick off with. And I was been thinking about it for a while. And the thing that I always come back to, especially since I met my wife and have started to grow more emotionally, the biggest message and the biggest thing that's changed my life over the last few years might sound simple, but it's not easy. And it's just that you control your emotions. You decide the emotions that you attach to any given thing at any given time. You get to choose how you react to any given situation and anything that happens to you. And as I said, it's a simple thing to say. It's not an easy thing to apply. Yeah. And as soon I worked with this guy for quite a while, about 2 years, and he one day, after working with him, he does some physical therapy type stuff, life coaching, and then one day we were just talking, having a session, and he's like, you know, you get to choose what emotion that you attach to stuff. And I was just like, for whatever reason, I'm sure I'd heard it before or whatever, but for whatever reason, in that context or in that session, after like getting to that point that day, like I heard that and I was like, what? It's like, what do you mean? Like that doesn't, no. It's like, I just get mad. Like
How old were you when this happened?
26.
He's like, it was last Tuesday.
Not very long ago.
Yeah. How old are you now again?
31.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's been a few years. You've had 5 years of it or so.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, thankful to keep my wife around through what we call my angry years, or Angry Derrick.
I've heard about Angry Derrick. I don't think I ever met him.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Because
I
when
mean, I
we've
think
known each
we
other.
like maybe met in passing or something.
Yeah.
On the mat, like I think he came to a few open mats, like with Craig, like a few years before we really connected and started hanging out and stuff. But might have been in that era. But yeah, it was definitely different. Definitely let life dictate how I react to stuff.
I feel like that is a hard thing to put into practice too when people are talking about that, because I know that you talk about that a lot, and I'm like, if I'm mad, I'm mad. I don't really, I feel like I can't control that, and I feel like I can control my actions, but I don't really know. Like, how would you say that you like have worked, like practice that?
Well, for me to start, the reason that it was so groundbreaking, if you will, is like I said, I was angry. Like my emotion that I attached to everything every situation every day was just anger. So it was like pretty easy to put it into practice when I could just choose something that's not anger.
Choosing violence all the time.
Yeah, always violence. Always action. Always go. Instead, it's like, well, now I can choose to sit back a little bit more. I can choose to, like I said, just attach a different emotion or a different reaction to something, thinking about how I want to react to something rather than just reacting to something. That's the other part of that. The other thing that I've kind of learned in the last few years is that it's not your first thought that counts, because that's how your automatic reaction to something is. What it's going to be is your reaction to that thought. It's your second thought that counts, because it's super easy to have somebody say something to you or something to happen and you get triggered, and your initial response is anger, or your initial response is fear, or whatever, emotion that you're going to attach to it. And then I try to let that happen, think about it for another second, decide how I want to react to that, and then try and push forward with that, rather than just that immediate, first reaction to everything. It's like I said, my first reaction was always just anger.
Where do you think that came from? Like, why? Why were you so angry? You're just like the Hulk, always angry.
Yeah. So it was definitely a learned behavior. Growing up, my dad was very repressed, very angry, a lot, very disconnected. And he, especially like when I was younger and I was hyperactive and didn't want to listen, he would always try to take control of a situation. Mom's telling me to do something, I'm not doing it, and then dad comes in and he gets angry. Do what you're told, and all that kind of stuff. But his overall emotion in most things was the same. So like I grew up just thinking like, oh, that's it. That's what we do. Like, we're angry. Men grow up, they're angry. That's how they react to stuff.
Because I do think people see it as a very masculine trait.
Absolutely. And especially, now that we're in the social media age and everyone, talks about therapy and talking about their feelings and feeling your emotions and all these kind of things. Like my dad in a town of 2,000 people in the 80s, not hearing that. And even my dad even worked at the university for 22 years. Is in a environment that grew in those kinds of messages and that kind of stuff. Ignored all of it. Get angry, go outside, smoke a cigarette. But that's where I think, like, for me, that's what was shown to me by my original male role model. Was he was just always angry. Then I would get angry that he's angry, and then there was just always a tension there.
So at what point did you feel like something's got to change?
Getting married, having a wife around that, to any of the people that have actually met my wife, especially in that era, I'm sure many people questioned like how somebody as lighthearted and kind and soft-spoken as my wife is married to somebody as loud and aggressive and angry as I was.
You say that, but Lauren's also a killer, man. Oh, she's a straight up murderer.
Absolutely.
Yeah, she's a killer. Yeah. So
yeah,
there's probably
with a grain of salt. Yeah, on that. She like if you have a conversation with her,
so sweet,
you'll never know.
Yeah,
like you'll never know that she was a professional fighter for many years.
Yeah.
Even still, like, but yeah, I would say wanting to be the best husband that I can be. And also my reaction to things, getting angry. My wife has an opposite reaction to that. So like when I get angry, she shuts down. So like if we need to talk about something and my initial reaction is to get angry about something, that conversation's not going to go anywhere because it kind of like shudders her back. And that would then, not allow a discussion to actually happen. And like, I don't want to be in a relationship where we can't have conversations and move forward and, actually talk to each other about, what's going on. And like I said, if my initial reaction is just to get angry, then she shuts down, then there's nothing to talk about. And so having her kind of shine a light on that, like I didn't even know I was angry. It's crazy as that might seem. It was just like unconscious to how I reacted to many things. It's just, that's my personality,
Yeah, it's I remember when I was getting ready to come back from Afghanistan, they do a post-deployment eval. You talk with the battalion surgeon, who's just like the main doctor. And I think it's like something everyone does. And I just was talking to him, and he goes, "Hey man, when you get back, I want you to talk to someone. You seem a little angry." And I'm just like, I remember like in my core, I'm like, what is this guy? I was like, "Roger that, sir." Yeah, I was like, okay, whatever. And I didn't even think about it. And then I've told this story before too, but I remember coming back from Afghanistan, and we took off, and obviously leaving Afghanistan, and normally you'd stop in Germany, you maybe for 4 hours, maybe 8 hours, maybe a day or two. It just depends, and they, it's just the way that they can charter flights and all that good stuff. And but every plane flies with 2 crews, so like there's 2 sets of pilots, and we got they give you Ambien, so you fall asleep. And as soon as you get 10,000 feet, you pop your Ambien and you fall asleep. And so I fell asleep on this huge plane, and they gave us a in-flight refuel. I slept through the whole thing. So I fell asleep in Afghanistan, and I woke up as we were landing in Washington. And so we go from just like this huge base, like the base, it's as big, it's dirty, it's like a big city, but it's like, okay, you go to sleep in a war zone. And I remember as we were landing, like just how green everything was, and cars are driving in perfect lanes. And I was just like, these people don't even know there's a war going on. And I was just so angry. I remember being like, I was so angry about it. And then they do another post-deployment eval, and you talk to one of the other battalion surgeons. And when I was stateside, and she's like, because she's a civilian, and she goes, "Hey, you need to talk to someone. You're really angry." And hearing it from 2 people, I was like, okay, I probably should go talk to someone. And so, but it's the same thing. Like I remember getting out of the military, and I was sitting with another friend of mine who I would say this guy is pretty angry all the time, but he's just like, we were having lunch, and he's like, "Bro, what is wrong with you?" I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "You're looking around like you're waiting for the next, shots to be fired. Like, chill out, dude." And I was like, oh man, but it took me like a good probably 1.5 to 2 years of being away from that environment to be a normal person and not be like, I'm killing everyone, going scorched earth on everything. Everyone can die. Like, it's a weird spot to be in. And I don't know how you feel about this. And I'd be curious. I like having that feeling though. I love having it there. I love it. I love it so much. I love knowing at the end of the day, everyone wants to play by these first world rules and just kill everybody if we had to. I'm not going to kill anybody. That's not a threat. Just saying that for the podcast world. It's just a thought that goes through my little head. But I know even Josie, you've heard me in the office sometimes. I just get frustrated and I say things where I'm like, I don't need to be like that. But I don't know. How do you feel for yourself? And especially when you're looking at it from a fighting standpoint, having that as an emotion, because I know that some fighters, get nervous before they fight. Some fighters are angry. Some people want to be ramped up. What did you see for yourself, and how has that emotion affected you throughout your mixed martial arts career, or even just, whether it was wrestling growing up, jiu-jitsu, how's that impacted you?
It's definitely, for me, the way that when I started, it was definitely just forward. It was aggressive, tuck your chin, put your hands up, and walk through it, and I could just be angry. But then obviously, you've trained a long time, it burns hot and it burns fast, it'll get you through the initial first couple years. It'll get you through that kind of stuff, but ultimately know that a saner head has to prevail, because the way that it works, especially when you're fighting, is when you are angry, that's where you develop tunnel vision. Like that's when you put your blinders on. That's when you get, caught with a submission that you didn't see in jiu-jitsu. That's when, somebody hits a transition on you and they just take your back and you didn't even see it coming because you're so worried about going forward, or worse, in MMA, you just got your blinders on, you're just going to sleep, Something that you don't see just catches you clean. And that's how I got into MMA when I was younger. Graduated high school, wasn't wrestling anymore, wanted to do something, got into that. Started, doing MMA and jiu-jitsu. And like I said, it is an effective tool for motivation and everything else. And like you say, like, other people might not understand what you just said, but about how it makes you feel. Being angry is one of the most powerful emotions.
I love
it. It makes you feel powerful.
It's always there too.
And it's always there.
Always there.
And the craziest part beyond that too is like, once you learn to control it and you can just put it on the shelf, tool. Break glass in case of emergency. Like, you can take it off the shelf at any time. And that over the years has almost become to feel more powerful than just, like I said, always going to it, because emotionally you're going to get very tired. Mm-hmm. Like I said, it burns hot and fast, but if you have a huge tank of fuel that you can just keep pouring it on, you can handle it for a while. But eventually it burns up everything else too.
I've seen for me, and again, going back to this, I love this. Just hearing you say that that's your big message. I'm like, no wonder we get along so well, because that's probably the message I would give to people too. It's something I tell Lincoln every day. It's something I practice. You probably hear me say it almost every day. Like, I control my emotions. I control my thoughts. No one has power over me. I refuse to give people power over me, no matter what. But going back to that feeling of like having the ability to be angry and having that as a tool that you can use, it's something that's like very just like, it makes me feel better about myself because I know it's there. I know I can use that. But I know that it's not my default. It's not who I want to be. And I feel like when I was in the military, it was much more like a hammer sees a nail. Everything's a nail. I'm going to smash these people. I'll show them. But now, anger for me is more of something like you were talking about. I use anger to motivate me. I use it when no one's around. I think about things that get me fired up. I think about how we're going to take over. I think about it in a work standpoint, how I'm going to everyone's going to want to work with me. I'm going to take all the assets from all the other advisors. I think about when I'm working out. I think about Sam smashing me, dude. I'm just like, I'm going to fucking kill him one of these days. I'll show him. How dare he? I think about that, Sam. If you ever watch this, I swear I think about that. I name my jiu-jitsu dummy Sam, just so when I'm practicing on it. But it's more of a tool to like keep me driven so that I can start planning how I'm going to win, how I'm going to strategically beat people, because that's another thing I've really liked with your approach. Whether I see you doing it with work, the way you talk about your work or the way you talk about jiu-jitsu, I can tell you think a lot about why you're doing what you're doing. And even when when you've taught me things or you've been showing me techniques, and when you're explaining, I do this, to do this, to do this. It's very sequential. Have you always been like that, or is that something you've learned, or how have you kind of taken that systematic approach in the way that you approach your life?
It's definitely learned from my mom specifically. So similar to like my wife and I, my mom is very cool-tempered, very calming and all that kind of stuff. I grew up and was very hyperactive. I was always the kid in class trying to distract everyone else because I couldn't focus. So if I can't focus, none of you guys can either. So, it doesn't get you very far. Gets you, pulling your card and getting in trouble and that kind of stuff. And so working with my mom recognized that very early. She was a social worker my whole life. Also ran a daycare before she really became a social worker. So teaching me how to kind of compartmentalize things a little bit to be able to slow down and create a sequence so that I can actually focus, because otherwise I'm going to try and do everything everywhere all at once. And then ultimately get nothing else done because you're touching this, touching that, touching this, not ever finishing anything. And it's very unfocused. So it's definitely something that I learned, and over the years adding in jiu-jitsu, like jiu-jitsu is just so perfect for it. And then, you know, like you say, with work and that kind of stuff too, like doing a big project, like you can't, you know, how do you eat an elephant? You know, one bite at a time. So you have to like break things down into a sequence and then just start with one thing, go to the next thing, and work that through until you can actually get something finished. And I feel like I've been fairly effective with that. In jiu-jitsu, it's definitely how I approach it and how I think about it. And, you know, it really is human chess. That's, I'm sure, plenty of people that play a lot of chess, you know, they're thinking 5, 10, 15 moves ahead, like that kind of thing. But if you don't have that sequence, if you don't have that understanding, you can't really play multiple moves ahead because you're just reacting to whatever's happening.
Yeah.
You know, and then in a jiu-jitsu sense, but take that however you will, you know, whether you're working or, you know, working with clients or even mowing the lawn, you know, like if you just start zigzagging across your yard, you know, you're not really going to get things done in the most efficient way.
I think I think jiu-jitsu is it just kind of simulates so much. It really does. It's funny you talk about anger and you watch people who just start training and it's like a fight to them. Yeah. Like, oh, I think I'm fighting. It's like, we're not fighting, bro. Like, I promise if we were fighting, it'd be going a little different. And like, I don't know. I think it was in the group chat we have where someone sent something as like, unpopular opinion. I'm not letting a new white belt work. I'm smashing him because all it does is makes him think he's better than this. It doesn't help me. Like, no, I need to put it on him. So it's like, yeah, sometimes that is the way it goes. And I mean, we're all guilty. I've done that before where it's like, dude, you're going a little hard. All right. And then it's just like, I'm going to fuck you up now, bro. Like, but
time to punch your ticket.
Everyone has to learn that lesson, but it is like, as you get further along, and I equate things just in work because it makes you think things through. It makes you start, you know, like planning, how am I going to react? And I think that's one of the things why I encourage people to try jiu-jitsu. One, it's hard. You can't get good fast. There's so much that you're going to have to struggle through. And it's one of those things it's not just hard physically, it's hard mentally. And there's a lot of people who can handle one or the other. They can handle something that's hard physically, or they can handle something that's hard mentally. But you put them where they're having to deal with both, and then it's uncomfortable and you're stuck, and no matter what you do, you can't get this grown man or sometimes even a girl. Dude, I remember when I first started rolling and like Lauren would beat the shit out of me, dude. Yeah. And it's like, this woman is like manhandling me. It's so humbling. Like, I feel pretty gay right now.
Right. Like, she's 145 pounds and I can't get off my back.
Yeah. And now she's about to break my leg and I don't even know what's happening. Like, why is this happening to me? But you know, and I think that's one of the fun things about it. And that's one of the things that I remember, like when the first time I saw you rolling with a toothpick in your mouth. And I was just like, what in the world? I was like, dude, we are not playing the same game, because I was still in the stage where I think I was probably like, I don't know, a blue belt maybe at that time, like a new blue belt. And, you know, I remember too, like you think you're a blue belt, like, oh, I got like, and that's kind of the other thing I've saw, like I realized too, is like, even as a purple belt, like that's a medium rank in jiu-jitsu. That's like, I'm in the middle. I'm not good. I'm not bad. Like, but people think like, oh, I'm a purple belt now. And don't get me wrong, there's some killer purple belts, like some nasty purple belts, but like as a hobbyist, I'm like, yeah, I was visiting a gym and in Coeur d'Alene when I was just earlier this month, bro. I was so embarrassed because it was a gi. We were training the gi, and you know, I just got my 3rd stripe. I'm a 3-stripe purple belt. Ooh, you know, bro, this freaking white belt foot locked me, dude. Like legit caught me in front of their 2 main instructors, caught me with a foot lock and just like and he started to go belly down, and I was like, motherfucker. And I was like, tap, tap, you know, I'm not getting my foot broke over this. I needed that though, because I walked in, I was like, I'm starting to get good at this. And dude, just that little slice, not even a little, that fucking huge slice of humble pie, I was like, all right. But then what it made me do is I started thinking, I was like, you know what, man, I'm going to go back. And I had another guy I was rolling with there who was a younger blue belt. And he's just one of those guys, super bendy, where he could invert really easily. Sorry, Josie, I have no idea what we're talking about now.
No, that's totally fine.
So he could invert very, and he would just keep rolling and inverting. And I would get around and he'd invert and I could not pass his guard. And I'm like, what is going on? And like, but it made me stop and think. These two things I got done. I was one of those days where I left the mat. I was like, what the fuck just happened, man? Like, what it just happened? I was like, well, let's think about it, Robert. Like, okay, are you studying? I was like, yeah, I'm studying. I was like, are you studying? Like, or are you watching videos while you're working out?
Right.
Are you like kind of taking some stuff here and there? And I was like, all right. And I was like, really, how good is your fundamentals? How good are you at guard passing? How many different types of passes do you work? Are you like moving them back and forth? I was like, not really. I just kind of Toriando and hope it works, and freaking smash. Yeah, there we go. Right. And I was like, I'm going to go back to the fundamentals and I'm going to just spend time. And I've been spending about 30 minutes every day taking notes. And I'm like, I'm going to get better. But it's like, that's how life works too. It's like, I've seen that in work. I've seen that in everything where it's like something happens. Like I'm doing really well. It's like, oh, I'm actually not nearly as far along as I thought. And that's okay because again, I control my thoughts. I control my emotions. And as such, I can control my habits and my actions. And I can get better, And so that's kind of, I don't know, jiu-jitsu is that for me a lot. And it just gives you an outlet. It's good to choke your friends. It's good to get beat up. It's good to have, like, in our group chat, I've realized that, like, I'm the, they talk about, like, your 5 best friends are going to show your average of whatever you're doing. And, like, in that group chat, the 4 of us, I'm like, oh, fuck, I'm definitely the worst in here by a long shot.
You weren't even the average. You're, like, below.
No, I am in that group chat. Like, every one of these guys are smashing me, like, in a bad way. It's, dude, well, when he comes out here, like, bro, he's a killer.
Austin's a killer.
He's fucking good. He doesn't look threatening.
So subtle.
Oh my gosh.
Like, especially in Nogi. Like,
oh, dude.
Not wearing a belt. Like, you can't see anything. Like, I don't know this dude from anyone. And you go roll with this dude, and he is a nightmare. He's so dynamic in so many positions. Like, he always knows what he wants to do.
Yes.
He's always playing a long game. Like, I have a hard time even rolling with him. He is not so inverty, but he definitely, like, he has a very flexible guard. Mm-hmm. His guard retention, his ability to get back to positions if he's on the bottom, his ability to hold top position and make it so even if you're trying to get out, you're moving, you're shrimping, you're trying to get up, like, he's just right there with you the whole time.
I've talked to him about that because, like, his gym, I feel like his gym is about 5 years ahead of where our gym is right now. Like, we train at different gyms, but at my gym at Missoula Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And so, because, like, they've got guys who have been training together for 10 plus years, and it shows because, like, you watch what they post on Instagram, and, like, it is. I remember the last time he was out here, I was like trying to, like, play reverse del Hiva on him, and he just, like, pushed that down and went straight into headquarters. And it was very similar to, like, that Craig Jones stuff that you showed me, where it's like he's using that, like, headquarters position where he can go into the legs. But then he did this, like, I don't know how he did it. I've thought about this a lot, where he, like, did this, like, float pass over and over my legs. Like, he just every time just pinned and, like, floated over my legs to side control. And I was like, no one's ever done this to me. Why is this happening? It was like, how the fuck are you doing this, bro? But it's fun to watch and it's fun to see. But, like, that's the thing too, like with jiu-jitsu is, like, there's those rules set, but the rules are so big. And it's like, you could be wrestle-esque and you could be the guy who smashes through everyone. And you could be, like, I kind of think of, like, I don't know, like, you look at, like, a Dorian Oliveras. I love that dude, man. That guy's a killer. But his game is like, I'm going to pressure through, and it's going to take a few times. And I know you're going to attack my legs, and I get out of that. And then I'm going to just pressure through, and you're going to get tired. And I'm going to wear you down. There's that. But then there's, like, the Joseph Chins in the world where it's like, okay, I'm going to smash pass. And it's like, and then there's going to be, like, I go back to, like, Eddie Cummings, where it's, like, very leg-esque, like, dude, just all these different things you can do. And it's like, that's part of the fun too, is, like, figuring out, well, what game am I going to play? Because I have this entire rule set, and it's not linear. It's so much. So
it doesn't dictate how you have to play the game. You have to choose, and there's so many paths.
How have you, like, so going to, because you've been training for a long time. You started wrestling when you were 5, right? Mm-hmm. So tell me about that, and, like, how did that come about? How did you even start in, like, even just with wrestling?
So I started wrestling. I like I said, my parents are from East. I don't know if we were talking before, but my parents are from Eastern Montana. Sports are a big deal in small town, in rural areas, not just Montana, but definitely a lot of football, but definitely a lot of wrestling. And so my dad wanted to put me in wrestling, so talked my mom into it, and got me into wrestling when I was really young. Surprisingly, not very good. When I was a little kid, I was a lot softer hearted, I guess. And I was bigger than most other kids. Like I grew very quickly. I was 33 pounds by the time I was 1.
What?
I outweighed my older sister, who was 2 years older than me.
You were 33 pounds?
33 pounds.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And I was born, normal.
You ate your sibling in the womb or something, right?
Pretty much. I was eating chicken breasts at 8 months old because my mom would cut up chicken and start feeding it to me because she, couldn't keep up on formula and everything else, and chicken's a lot cheaper than formula.
Yeah.
And but yeah, grew very fast. So just throwing my weight around, I could beat some kids, but then kids would start crying and I didn't want them to cry, so I'd let them pin me and stuff. So got into it then. Wasn't super competitive, and then just kind of kept doing it. It's not super intense unless you're some kind of prodigy, which I'll be the first to tell you I never was when I wrestled. I could be gritty, I could be I could give you a tough match, but I was never the best wrestler. But, one of those things, I just kept showing up. Mm-hmm. Didn't really get into wrestling until probably 7th grade. I kept doing it, kept showing up. I would do it, and I was I wasn't really attached to it. I was there, like I said, going through the motions. Another reason to hang out with my friends, burn off some energy. And then, like I said, 7th grade, started getting a little more into it. 8th grade, definitely was picking it up a little bit more. Put on a ton more weight. I graduated. I left 8th grade at 210 pounds.
Holy balls. You're a big boy.
Yeah, went into freshman year 215 pounds playing football. Like I said, still never. I was never super competitive as far as self-driven to be competitive. Once I would start competing, I definitely didn't want to lose. That definitely changed from when I was a little kid and I would just let make other kids cry, and so I'd let them win so they don't cry. And but as I got older, I definitely figured it out a little bit more. But it really started clicking in high school. Once I got into that high school wrestling room, it was totally different.
What changed for you?
It was the intensity of the room that I was training in and the level of talent that was in that room. Also, I'd never worked out that hard my entire life. Football season is always at the beginning of the year, then wrestling season always follows. And I got really into lifting when I was 14, the summer before my freshman year. Started shedding some weight. I was a fat kid, 8th grade, 200 pounds, 5'8", little kid, pudgy. And really started lifting freshman year, got in shape for football. And that really changed it because that was the first year I ever played football. I never played football until my freshman year. All my friends were doing it. My mom convinced me because she wanted me to play football because small town football in Montana is a big deal. Mm-hmm. And so just being around a lot more people that are actually committed to wanting to be good at it and actually being competitive, that definitely changed it. And like I said, football, not so much. Like, I don't really care. I was a big kid, so I was on the line, not doing anything fun. I was on the offensive line, so I'm not even tackling. I'm just standing there running, people run into me. And never got that into football, got into wrestling. And like I said, that room was unlike any other sports environment that I've ever been in. And that every single day was grind. Definitely learned how to grind at a different level that I didn't even know was there. That's when I feel like things kind of started to change as far as the intensity wise, of, getting more intense and getting more committed to sports and that kind of stuff.
What do you think, like, as far as wrestling? Because I actually had a question about that, because wrestling it's such a grinding sport. When you look at grappling and you look at wrestling, you look at like judo, you look at, jiu-jitsu, they all have their kind of flavor. I feel like judo is still pretty formal. It's like this is the way, this is the tradition. You're going to bow on, you're going to do the things.
Always in the gi.
Yep, always in the gi. And a lot of people shit on judo, which I'm just like, dude, if you hit a perfect foot sweep, it's just nothing like it, dude. That's one of my.
If somebody hits a perfect foot sweep on you, you just go upside down.
You're like, what the? Why am I looking at what happened here? Yeah. So there's judo.
The first time your feet go to the sky,
bro. Foot sweeps are beautiful. I love that perfect. I remember when you were teaching me foot sweeps a few years ago, and you're like just showing. I was like, all right, I really like that. But so there's judo. And then jiu-jitsu is basically like the stoner surfer version of grappling. Don't get me wrong. You can smash people, but it's like super chill. It's relaxed. You're going to listen to good music. We're going to have some fun. Unless you're a true competitor, like as a hobbyist. And I think that's why jiu-jitsu is like that, because it's mostly grown men with, who like to wear spandex.
Bright colored outfits.
Yeah. Let's see. But, so it's just chill, because that's kind of the environment, unless you're like, treating it as your profession. But then wrestling, wrestling is, again, it's something that one is a young man's game. Like wrestling is not for people my age. Like I think, again, it was in the chat where someone sent it. I don't know who it was. It was like, quit being a bitch. Just blast double leg. Just shoot the double leg. I'm like, my knees, dude, they don't let me, But when you're a young man, like, okay, yeah, you can do that. And you watch these wrestling matches where these kids go to war.
The scrambles.
Bro.
Especially if you watch grappling and stuff, like you watch jiu-jitsu and even MMA, because you get a little more mix of it. But like you watch the NCAA tournament.
Insane.
The scrambles that they get in are nuts.
There's no other environment too.
Like early 20s. Like all these kids are like, obviously like they talk about the male prime and that kind of stuff. It's like early 30s, late 20s. Like these kids are athletes from the time that they were young children. Like I was talking about, these are the type of kids that are like prodigies.
Yeah.
That have been into it forever. They've done it forever. They get on the mat. Like they know the feel of a match. They know the feel of, the pace. Because one of my friends started coaching at one of the local high schools, and I went over and wrestled with some of the guys, and like at this point I've been doing it a long time. Like I can hold my own decently well with like high school kids and people that I do jiu-jitsu with. But I went in there and like, dude, this high school kid took me down in a match because of the pace of that I've been playing at with jiu-jitsu versus the pace that he's playing at, like getting ready for season to start. I wasn't really in the mindset to like wrestle like that. And then we just tap hands, we're messing around, we're tying up, and then you just blast me off my feet. And I was like, oh shit.
This is like, what it is. Yeah.
And my initial reaction anymore is, yeah, whatever. You took me down. Like,
yep.
Let's do this. Like, try and pass my guard. He's like, no.
You lost.
Pinned.
Yeah.
Right. You're on your back now. And it's like, oh.
That's right.
Damn it.
Yeah. And so, like, when you look at that, because I feel like wrestling, especially because it typically is younger men, and you're spot on, like what you're describing. So my experience with wrestling is very minimal. I've started watching more wrestling because I just like to watch grappling now. I do. And you watch these big tournaments and there are these rooms, like these college tournaments where there's 15,000 people losing their mind. Like unlike pretty much any other sport. It's not like basketball, like, oh, he hit the game-winning shot. It's not like that. Even with UFC, like when people like, oh, big knockout, like, no, it's like 15,000 fans who know what's happening and they're just going insane. It's like, dude, just even watching it, goosebumps. You're like, that's an insane feeling. So like
when it's not like the level of like UFC fights and stuff like that, you see like there's a lot more variation. People are like really excited for like 2 or 3 fights. Mm-hmm. When you watch something like the NCAA tournament where everyone's going nuts, you have matchups all day between these complete animals. Mm-hmm. Like some of the best wrestlers in the world are going to compete multiple times today. Like,
I think that's why people get so excited.
That tournament gets insane. And it's super similar. You haven't been to ADCC.
No, I was just about to bring that up. Yeah. That's why I was like, oh, we should go to ADCC this year. And it's like,
intelligent crowd cool. that I have ever been to at any event. Like, especially when we first started going right after COVID in 2022, the first ADCC after 2020.
What a great ADCC.
After COVID. 2022 ADCC.
I go back and watch those matches all the time.
It was fucking the best killers. Fucking tournament.
Dude.
It was the best grappling experience that I've ever had, let alone the fact that we went to the All-Star Seminar. There's 14 ADCC medalists, literally legends, 14 on the mat. You get to, break out in these small groups. 2 of them are teaching at a time. They come around to all the groups. Could talk about that for an hour just by itself. But like I said, the most intelligent crowd that I've ever seen. Like you can tell, nobody in 2022 at that tournament was there because it was like, this is going on in Vegas. Like, let's go see what this is. It's like people flew in from all over the world to watch this tournament. And so everyone that was there does jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Like, whereas, wrestling, it's just, it's intense, or like a basketball game. You get so many people that don't do jiu-jitsu or don't do wrestling or don't play basketball watching the event. Jiu-jitsu, not very many people in that crowd don't do jiu-jitsu. Like, so being there and like the crowd reactions, and you can just feel the engagement. Like everyone is just locked in for 2 days straight.
Were you gonna say, well, I'm sorry, man.
Yeah,
sorry.
no, I've noticed, especially like in the last couple of years, that jiu-jitsu has made such like a popular demographic of people, where it's gone from like such a niche sport like wrestling or judo or all of these other little things to something that honestly people do on a daily basis. It's like girls going to Pilates. It's like the guys are just kind of headed it's the guy version of girls going to Pilates.
That's the clip we were looking for right there.
I mean, it really is, to where I'm like, it's such a regular thing now, to where it's like, oh yeah, like I'm off headed to jiu-jitsu. It's like,
oh god, well, it is the guy version
pick
of Pilates.
Pick up Starbucks on the way.
Yeah. Oh my god, she's right. And we wear the outfits and everything.
Oh yeah,
bro. Some of the outfits I have are a little suspect. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, I think a lot of that is just because, again, the environment, you're around your best friends, you're doing something that's hard, both physically and mentally. No one has their phone out. You're listening to great music, and there's so much trust. You have to trust the people, because like, you get caught, that's catastrophic. Like, you could destroy.
Speaking of our group chat.
Oh God, dude, I hate
that was the
those.
Worst fucking video I've seen.
One of our friends likes to send extremely Austin. We're calling you out. I'm gonna tag him in this. Be like, we talked about you a lot, Austin. What the fuck is wrong with your algorithm, bro? Like, holy crap, man. The things he sends sometimes. He sent us this video.
Worst thing I've ever seen.
Basically, what you can do is you can grab their toes, and the way you get it, you're leveraging your arm, and so you are twisting their foot the wrong way. We watched in this video, this guy, why didn't he tap? I don't understand how his body was not like, you are about to get catastrophically broken.
Dude, the commitment that it takes for the guy to break it like that.
He basically tore his leg off, Josie. Like, literally
he pulled his...
I've never seen something like that.
Through the skin.
Yeah.
Broke his leg and just kept going. And it just
and then it started spurting.
yeah.
Austin, why did you send that?
That was brutal.
I watched it, but why?
One of my other friends actually just sent it to me again.
I can't watch that, dude.
I saw it. And
I was like,
oh yeah,
no.
We were talking about it when you called me, like 2 weeks ago. And it's like I saw it and I was like, oh, it's a toe hold. And then like
started happening. You see the twerk,
seeing it break, and I was like, ooh, that's rough. And then you see the blood, and I was like, oh no, just turned it right off.
That's like where it's like I'd rather watch people get shot than watch people's legs get broken like that. 100%. Getting shot a lot of times, like you had that coming, dude.
Austin's next favorite thing to send, like people getting hit by cars.
I know, dude.
It's like I would rather see that.
Jesus,
Austin's got some issues. We invited you into the group chat, Austin. You went pretty hard in the paint right out the gate. We love you.
That first week.
I remember being like
aggressive.
Well, I was like, he's trying to scare us away, I think, and then he toned it down. I think he caught
actually started getting some jiu-jitsu videos mixed in.
What's funny is when I was like, Austin, come into this group chat, he'd never sent me any of that stuff before. I was like, oh God, what have I done?
Well, it's like you're saying, you're the average of your 5 closest friends. Your average for violence just went way up. Too.
My algorithm has changed. Austin, dude, I'm gonna for sure let him know.
Trash,
dude. Austin, you ruined my algorithm. I've seen more people get killed on Instagram in the past.
It was not.
Yeah,
like I've heard about it because like
I didn't know that was a real thing.
Like Joe Rogan on some of his podcasts talks about how him and Tom Segura just have like this disgusting group chat, and they just send each other these terrible videos all the time. And I was like,
I've never seen any of those. Yeah, like, I didn't even know that existed.
I don't see any people getting hit by cars or killed or anything.
It's out there,
Instagram.
people.
And it's like
it's 100%
it's absolutely out there.
You can watch the whole world get murdered on Instagram.
As soon as your algorithm changes,
like I keep watching it,
especially
though.
like Russia and Ukraine war and all that kind of stuff. Sam has been sending those videos.
I know. I was about to say that. Oh man. So one thing I meant to ask, and we got away from it because we started talking about Instagram and the craziness. But so with wrestling, man, like because these highs are so big, but the lows I imagine are so low. Like, can you think of like just maybe the ultimate high, but then also the ultimate low you had as you were competing with that? And I don't know, maybe wrestling or just martial arts as a whole. Is there anything that comes to mind there?
Man, the high would probably be martial arts wise. Wrestling at this point, it's been quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
I graduated in 2012. Mm-hmm. Didn't even get to wrestle my senior year because I tore my labrum 3 weeks from the end of football season. So I'm like 5-6 weeks from the beginning of wrestling season. So there was just no coming back from that. So like wrestling, there were definitely some specific matches that I remember that were definitely like big moments. And I didn't even win all of them. Like I said, I was not the best wrestler. I was like a 50-50 wrestler. I could win some good matches every now and then, but I was so heady. I was always in my head about stuff, and I would lose matches before I even got on the mat because I convinced myself, like, oh, this kid's like number 5 in the state at this weight class. Like, he should win this match because he's good, and I'm not as good. So, like, I didn't even give myself a shot. So, like, competition-wise in wrestling and stuff, like I definitely had some memorable matches, but they're kind of a little more vague at this point. But continuing, like my only amateur fight that I've had, like that was definitely one of like the culmination of so many things happened before that. Part of the reason I didn't do so good in wrestling in high school is I was super prone to injuries, specifically joint and, ligament injuries and stuff. So every single year I had something happen like right before state. So like I made it to divisionals, and I get to wrestle at divisionals. You have to do well enough in divisionals to get added to the state tournament, to make it to the state tournament. And I think I even qualified for the state tournament once, but I tore my other shoulder before that one. So that was my junior year, and then senior year I tore my other shoulder. So getting to back to competition. It was, I don't even remember, 2017 maybe was that fight. So I'd been out of high school for years. I came back from a crazy accident at work in which I cut all my fingers off. So my first fight was after that. So like I didn't kind of rode off, like even getting into competition, because the whole time, like I'm working the whole time. I started my business in 2016. So like I've been focused on work because I knew like I'm not going to be a pro fighter.
Right.
Like I already know that, but it's fun. I like to do it. I'm engaged. I have a lot of friends. Like it's just a fun environment to be in. And, but definitely high point was definitely that fight. It was like the culmination of like so many of those lowest lows, so many of those things that like prevented me from doing that. Getting to that fight was like,
well, and even with
so great
with your, because I was going to bring that up too and ask you about that, because I know you've told me the story about what happened with your fingers, and I wanted to talk to you about specifically because a lot of people would look at that and be like, I've got to stop this. I'm not training anymore. But you've gone on since then. I mean, you've gotten your black belt as a, and Jiu-Jitsu. As someone who's rolled with you numerous times, you're very good. You use grips still very well. I'd love to hear kind of what that process looked like. And so maybe you can explain like, hey, this is what happened. And then just your recovery and how you were able to, after such a catastrophic injury, still be able to train, and like maybe the lessons you've learned from that.
Yeah, it was a lot. So I was at work, obviously doing construction. I was in the middle of the busy season, which is, middle of the summer. And I guess it was towards the end of the summer. So it was September 22nd, 2016. And I was working a super long day after a summer of just going super hard. It was like 6-7 o'clock in the evening. Been at work since 7:30 that morning. And we were just bouncing around trying to get a bunch of stuff done, and was using a table saw, and the piece that I was running through the table saw bound up, and it actually flipped it over and pulled it into the blade, and it pulled my hand with it, and my hand just clapped right into the saw blade at full RPMs, and it was a very catastrophic injury. It didn't cut my fingers off so much as it tore them off, because the blade was a very low tooth blade. So there's like big space in between every tooth, and it wasn't very sharp. And so it, fractured my fingers up into my hands. It tore my index finger in half. It ripped my pinky completely off. Or not my whole pinky, but half my pinky was just off. My middle and index, or my middle finger and ring finger, were broken in half, and rushed to the hospital.
Well, let's back up. So you do this, and so because I know, but like, what goes through your head when that happens? Like, do you just look down and like, oh fuck. Yeah.
My initial reaction, so like when it happened, the saw is still running, my hand collapsed the saw, and the first thing I did was I closed my hand, I tucked it into myself, I wrapped it up, and then I bent in half to start compressing my fingers, because I didn't know exactly how bad it was going to be, but I knew it was really fucking bad. My whole hand hurts.
Like how much, when you're saying your whole hand hurts, like had the pain kicked in immediately?
Immediately.
Okay, so
everyone
you're like,
says like fucking adrenaline this, and like it'll just cut your fingers off and like all this kind of stuff. I was like, that's cool. That didn't happen. It hurt at 100 immediately. Like there was, the adrenaline allowed me to stay functioning, but it didn't take any, like, it didn't even take the edge off. It immediately was so terrible. Like if it was an 80 tooth, fine finish, nice sharp saw, sure. You know, there's guys that like cut the end of their pinky off and like didn't even notice because the blade was super sharp. Like that wasn't this. And so immediately it happened and it just.
Were you in town? Were you out of town?
I was, yeah. Okay. I was downtown.
So like,
working at, you know.
So you were here in Missoula downtown. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. So did
approximately 6 minutes from St. Pat's emergency room.
Okay. So how did you, so this happens. Oh fuck. Yeah. Like what are those that next minute, 2 minutes as you're like, what do you do?
So first, like I said, I tucked it in my shirt. I started compressing it. And then we paused for a second I was working with another guy at the time. And he asked, like he heard it happen. He was standing right behind me, working on something else. And he looks at me and he's like, how bad is it? So I'm sitting there. I'm like, fuck. So then I open my hand up and I look down and all I see is my index finger. Looks like it got peeled like a banana. Like it just, the whole end of my finger was split in half. And I knew my other 3 fingers hurt really fucking bad too. Didn't even see any of them. I just looked down and I saw this one. It was just in half. And so then my first reaction is, it's really fucking bad. And so I was like, okay, next thought that I have is no one here can carry me. If I don't get to the car, I'm going to die here. Like I have to stay calm enough to get to the car. The people that were around, like the owners that were around, like they're like panicking and they grab a blanket, give me a blanket, or they initially tried to give me paper towels. And I was like, no chance, like not enough. And so they give me just like a blanket that was around. And so I wrap my hand in a blanket. And then, the whole time I'm thinking like, at this point, like I was pretty thick. I was like 235 pounds training all the time. And I was like, no one here is going to be able to, like, if I pass out, no one here is going to be able to lift me. Like, and I'm probably losing a lot of blood. Like, not good. So it's like, I have to stay calm. I have to get to the car. I have to get in the car. And then we got in the car, went to the emergency room, rushed in, and, you know.
So what happens? Let's walk through that then. So you get to the emergency room.
Oh, it's bad.
Yeah. So you walk in and it's immediately like, they're like, okay, get him in right now. Let's no?
No.
What?
No.
That's okay.
So I walk into the emergency room. I get dropped off at the front. And I walk into the emergency room. And I'm sitting there, my hand's all wrapped up, and I like go up to the lady and I'm like, I just cut all my fingers off. She's like, okay. And she's like, sit down. And I was like, whatever. She's like, what's your name? I tell her my name. What's your date of birth and your address and all this kind of stuff. She asked me about 3 questions and I'm like, I don't know if you heard what I said. I was like, I cut all of my fingers off. I'm blanket wrapped up in my hand. I'm sitting there and I'm like, you know, writhing in pain. My hand's all fucked up. And she's like, no, I heard you. And, you know, what insurance do you have and all this kind of stuff. And then the guy that brought me over there while he dropped me off at the front so that I could rush in, you know, and then he finds a parking spot in the St. Pat's emergency room parking area, comes in and he like rushes in because he thinks he's going to be like following me on a wheelchair into the back. He comes in, he's like, what's going on? And this lady just like couldn't be bothered about it. And then she like, you know, I don't even remember how much time, but not too much time long. She's like, all right, whatever. He gets me a wheelchair, puts me in a wheelchair, rolls me in the back. And so then they start assessing, you know, they just have my hand sitting out on a table, nothing covering it, just open to the world as they're assessing it. You know, I'm like in a bed or whatever. And they just have it on.
Did they do anything to stop the bleeding yet? Or are you just still fucking gushing?
Yeah. I mean, there was nothing like wrapping it up. They'd like, hooked me up to an IV and started giving me like stuff. I'm assuming some sort of anticoagulant and like some other stuff. So I'm not like, after a little while, not like gushing blood anymore. And they like cleaned it up and then they're like, we're going to life flight you to Spokane. Like they'll get, emergency surgery center up and going. And we're like, holy shit. And in my mind, I'm thinking, we're going to Spokane. Like, Mom, get some pills and some gauze and we'll drive to Spokane. It's like, I'm not getting life flighted. Like, that's fucking ridiculous. Because, I know it's super expensive.
Right.
And so I was like, that's insane. We'll drive to Spokane. My mom's like, shut up. If they're going to life flight you, that's what we're doing. And I was like, all right, whatever. And then, we're sitting in the emergency room waiting to hear if we're getting life flighted. And then all of a sudden they come back in. They're like, nah, we're going to send you home. Like, it's too fucked up. Like, we'll just send you home and call Missoula Bone and Joint in the morning and they'll just nip them off. And I was like, we were getting life flighted like
kind of like
20
my
minutes
fingers.
ago.
Yeah.
And they're like, nah, it's too bad. Like, we'll just send you home. And I was like,
did you have your fingers? Did you pick them up or what did you do with it? Okay.
yeah.
All right.
So the only one that, so these two were just pointing at the dirt. The only thing that was attaching them.
But you have to show your hand because everyone's going to want to see it now.
Yeah. I mean,
It looks pretty normal-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, missing half my pinky.
Yeah.
It's like, but overall, fairly normal.
So how did how did it go back from, hey, it's too bad to...
Yeah. So they're like, we're going to life flight you. And they're like, actually, we're just going to send you home. And so then they start working on discharging me. And so they come over with a ace bandage and 2 rolls of gauze. And they put a roll of gauze in my hand, wrap up with a roll of gauze, wrap an ace bandage around that, and just have my hand in a fist. And they're like, all right, cool, you're good to go. Here's 5 Percocets that, have 325 milligrams of acetaminophen. Like, here you go. Move on. And I was like, well, like hydrocodone, I have a natural immunity to hydrocodone. My dad had like a painkiller immunity or whatever. Mm-hmm. Like they're just not very effective, so they have to use like more intense ones because like hydrocodone and certain other ones just basically don't have any effect. And I inherited that. And so they sent me home with 5 hydrocodone pills. And it's like 9:00 in the evening.
Jeez.
And so they, send me out and they're like, like not a lot of instruction. And so they're
especially
like,
for
if you
something
bleed
so
through
big,
your bandage, like just come back in and we'll rewrap it. And I was like, okay. So I looked at it. And I was like, it's bleeding through. And they're like, no, not that. Like, I was like, okay, well then how much blood is too much blood? Like, if it's like a wet sock, then I guess I come back in. But yeah, at that point I was like, okay, this is ridiculous. Like, grab my little bottle of pills and head home and then just proceed to sit around until 1:00 the next afternoon to get surgery. Yeah.
What's going through your mind, man?
At this point, like, just pain. It's literally the only thing that I can focus on. Needless to say, didn't sleep. I stayed up all night. My mom stayed up with me, as if a mom could sleep while her fucking, kid is all mangled laying around on the couch. And so, like, we stayed up all night. My mom called Missoula Bone and Joint in the morning. They actually accommodated. My surgery wasn't until like 1. And so I don't remember, but they got me in like a little early, a couple hours before, because drugs aren't working in an extreme amount of pain. So my mom was able to work it out so I could come in and basically just get hooked up to some drugs until surgery that afternoon. And so was able to do that. They brought me in, got me hooked up to an IV. hooked me up to some painkillers, got me a nerve blocker, and my surgeon is a stud. He decided since I was 22, it's like, well, obviously it is pretty catastrophic. I wouldn't try and put it back together, but there's a good chance. There's about a 95% chance that it's not going to work. But since you're so young, we're going to try it out. Because if it doesn't work, then the longest finger on your right hand will be your pinky.
Jesus.
So like for how broken everything is, these would have been like little nubs.
Oh my gosh.
Just to cut off what was broken.
Your video game days would have been over, bro.
Seriously.
Oh, you'd have been PC
yeah,
only.
So my pinky would have been my longest finger on my right hand. So my doctor said, well, we're gonna take a shot in the dark. Like you said, I didn't know any of this, and my mom decided not to tell anyone, or told everyone not to tell me that the doctor said that basically, there's about a 95% chance that this doesn't work. Come back in 2 weeks, and they're probably gonna rush me into emergency surgery. And my mom's like, nope, everything's great. You're gonna put your fingers back on. You're gonna be fine.
Thanks, Mom.
I was like, cool, let's do this. And
what had they done with your fingers up until this point? I mean, do they have them on ice or something? Or?
No, so they were attached. So they were.
Oh, so they were there. They
were there. They were literally just hanging off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Except my pinky. My pinky was
it's gone
in a Ziploc bag in the freezer.
Yeah. We had one of my team leaders when I was in the Army. We were doing a training exercise, and it was we were doing CQB training. So we're doing a shoot house. And so everything's live ammo, live, flashbangs, live everything. Literally the last iteration. And this guy was filling in for another guy who had something with his wife that he couldn't be there. And so he was just filling in on a different team. And he went to throw a flashbang, and something had happened where we'd had to use different rubber bands because we would rubber band the flashbangs and you could take those off and, here you go. Well, so there just wasn't quite as much tension, and he pulled the pin, and when he went to throw the flashbang, it was like an M80 that, not with his hand closed around it, thankfully, but as he threw it, it blew up and it blew this part of his thumb off. And I just remember, because we're picking up ammo and everything, like we're done. Like our team is done. He was on my team, but he was filling in on a different team. And we immediately hear medic, and all the lights turn on because we were doing everything under nod, And so I was like, fuck, someone just got shot. Fuck. But no, he didn't get shot. His thumb got blown off. And I remember because we went into the room and they're like, just his thumb is just like there, and we picked it up. We put it in a little MRE bag. We, sent him off to the hospital. And yeah, I just remember.
Did they reattach?
Huh?
Did they reattach?
No, they couldn't reattach it.
Yeah, a lot of times it's.
Yeah, so they couldn't. But yeah, so like, and with you, so here you go. So mom doesn't tell everyone or tells everyone not to tell you. So you're just like, you get this surgery, and then you've got a 2-week follow-up, I guess. And so in your mind, you're just like, all right, things are going to be okay.
I'm good.
Maybe you thought it into existence, maybe because you believed.
Yeah. I mean, power of positive thinking.
I know, right? Like the universe is like, yeah,
your body can do substantially more healing than you ever thought.
So then? Yeah, and then so you go for your follow-up, and they're like, oh, it's they're going to stay on, or
that fucking follow-up was brutal.
What happened there?
So I had like 60 stitches in my hands. I had the same bandage on because can't fucking take that thing off. I had basically just been doped up on pain meds because I catastrophically exploded my hand. And so I hadn't really had any feeling. I hadn't tried to move my fingers. I didn't try to, because my hand was, wrapped in a fist. And so I hadn't really tried to move anything or do anything with my hand. And I get to this appointment, and they're like, cool, we're going to take all this stuff off. And she goes to start unraveling it, and they used the mesh gauze. And so it was all stuck to all the stitches. And so she's pulling this stuff off, gets to the end of my fingers. Mind you, I haven't seen my hand since the day that it happened. I haven't had a single feeling in my hand for
and
2
you're
weeks.
right-handed or left-handed?
Right-handed.
So this is it's your strong hand.
Yeah.
Take my strong hand.
Exactly. So I haven't had any sensation, any feeling. Like I haven't bumped it. I haven't heard it. I haven't moved it. I haven't seen it. And I get to this, I'm just at Bone and Joint, and no harm to the nurse. Like, she's just doing her job. She sees this stuff every day. It's like one of the most traumatic experiences of my entire life. But like to her, this is just Tuesday. Yeah. And she is taking it off, gets to like my fingers, and I could see that there's like, my hand is just tinted red because it's just been bleeding underneath there and post-surgery and all that kind of stuff. And so she goes to pull it off, and then of course the gauze catches all the stitches. And so she like gets to the end and she goes to like pull on it, and then all of a sudden I get this like feeling that I can't actually feel tug on the end of my fingers, and I don't get queasy very easily, but the feeling of that just hitting the end of it, I was like, oh, like my knees buckled, like I turned green, like luckily I was right by the counter, because like I dropped. I was like, oh, as soon as she hit the end of that, and I caught myself on the counter, and she was just like, are you okay? And I was like, just need a second. And she's like, okay. And she like gives me a second, then keeps going. And she just starts like peeling it out. She's like, this isn't really working. Let's put it under some water. So she just grabs my hand and throws it under the faucet and turns the faucet on. And so like, I haven't felt anything. And then all of a sudden it's like tugging and pulling and warm water and like all this stuff. And I was just like, again, like almost out. And then, ended up peeling it all off. And my mom is also sitting with me in this one. And fully expecting that my fingers are just going to be black and we're going to run into emergency surgery, because she's been carrying that this whole time without telling me. And so I'm like passing out and like, almost passing out. And she's over in the corner, like seeing that, also expecting that everything's going to be not good. And after all that, they get it, undone from all the stitches and get everything off. And they're like, oh, it actually looks good. Like, actually looks pretty good. Doesn't look good. It looks fucking insane. Like it. I have a picture if you want to see it, but
I would love to see it.
Looks like fucking Edward Scissorhands. And it's, to everybody else, I'm sure it just looks wild.
Do you mind if show it to me, and then do you mind if you send it to me? Can we put it on so people could see it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh fuck yes.
Yeah. So like it looks good.
Go ahead, Josie. Just take it.
But
It's not that bad.
It's also the backside of it. I have.
We'll post it for you guys to see. Send that to me real quick. Send that to me so I don't forget.
I have the other side of this.
Send both to me.
I don't keep those on my phone.
Okay. Whichever you want to send to me.
I'll send you whatever.
Yeah.
I don't actually care. I think my little sister.
Here, move this way just so you can. There you go.
I'll have my little sister send them.
Yeah, that'd be good because
she actually has them, and I won't keep them on my phone. I don't want to randomly be scrolling through my pictures and have a traumatic response from seeing my hand all over again. I also have some X-ray pictures with all the pins and stuff.
Whatever you want to send.
But like I said,
whatever you want to send.
Like,
we'll put it up there.
Everything looks good. It looks fucking insane. But it looking like that is like good news. They're not black. They're not dead. Like they made it through surgery and we made it this far. And it's like, that was all good.
Dude.
And, but like I said,
what was life adjusting like after that, man? Like again, and like, that's a major thing. Like what?
So different. Everything changed. I didn't go back to construction. I got a job working at a desk, becoming an insurance agent.
That's right.
Yep, an insurance agent. So I sold insurance through a broker for like 3 years. Did really good at that. Loved that. Never thought that I would work a desk job, but obviously when you have something like that change, like you have to adapt. Didn't think I was going to be able to fight. Didn't think I was going to be able to train. And while also taking a bunch of painkillers. and that's, a whole aside of its own. But getting through that and like transitioning back and then trying to be active. I also got super fat, can't move. My hand was
how much weight? How heavy did you get?
a little more than the scale I saw. And I know I was fatter at one point, but it was 285.
Oh yeah. So you put on some weight.
Almost 300 pounds.
You're a chunky boy.
Oh yeah. And, so yeah, made it through that and got out the other side and started being able to, or I guess my hand was so broken and in so much pain that I could only stand up for about 5 minutes at a time because it would start swelling so fast as soon as blood flow would go to it. And then it would start thumping. And then the thumping would be so painful that I would just get like, it would make my head start ringing. And, so like I could only be up for 5-10 minutes at a time. It was just enough time to grab a White Monster and some Costco microwavable pizzas, throw them in the microwave and make it back to the couch. And so that was like 3 months of just like not being able to move much, not be able to be up very much. Road to recovery was brutal. They tried to remobilize all the joints in the end of my fingers. So they like made me a little jig to like try and isolate and just flex the end of my fingers. And after about 3 days of that, I was like, I'm good. Like I would rather my fingers be completely frozen, like just be completely stiff. And, 2 of them are, one of them has a little bit of movement. And honestly, I wish it didn't.
Really?
Because I guess so much arthritis that it moves. It doesn't even have anywhere close to the same range of motion, but the little bit that it does have,
what was
certain times of the year get pretty painful.
So you're going back to kind of what we started with this, with controlling your thoughts. I mean, but at this time, you obviously hadn't learned that lesson yet.
Oh yeah, it was long before that.
Yeah. So your mental health, your anger, like what's going on in your head?
Yeah.
Dull. It's taken so many painkillers, it didn't matter. Yeah. Had a pretty good battle there after surgery, and obviously like was in a significant amount of pain for many, many months. Like stayed pretty numb to a lot of things because I could just do that and knew that I was going to have to do something else. But it was like, I literally can't stand, for like longer than 10 minutes. Like I can't move around. I went from training and working full time, training after work until 8 o'clock every night, lifting all the time. Like I said, I was in decent shape, like 235 pounds, thick, strong, training all the time. Been training at that point for like 3 or 4 years. So it's like decent to hold my own, sparring every weekend. And then like one day to the next, it just kind of disappeared. And then I also changed career paths. I got into like go become a superintendent on a job site. Like I became an insurance agent.
What did, because again, like your story, and it sounds, and we can go as much or as little as you want to, but like, hearing your story, it's so easy to see how people get addicted to these types of drugs.
Absolutely.
Oh, totally.
And, because like, again.
And it's like, it's such an epidemic right now.
Oh, it happens so fast. And now at least there's some stop losses in place to prevent people from becoming so addicted. So they'll like give you a week of drugs at a time. So you have more refills, which has to be monitored by more doctors. They also don't do, not as often. Like stage 4 cancer patients get like an unlimited script. Like terminal cancer patients,
you're on your way
in
out.
a lot of pain. Like
that's
a little bit different scenario.
Fair.
A 22-year-old kid with an unlimited, unmonitored prescription.
Yeah.
Like I got 50 at a time with literally said on the bottle, just unlimited refills.
So for yourself then, because this is something, and Lord willing, I hope I never have to find out, but like I have a hard time just being completely honest, I have a hard time empathizing with people who like are like addicted to drugs. Because from my mind, I've never thought about it like what you're just talking about, like how people get there. And that's something that I don't know how much you followed it, but like with Spencer Pratt in LA, and where he's talking about all these people on drugs, but he's the only person I hear who's like, guys, how has Skid Row become the norm? He's like, all these people is someone's son, someone's daughter, someone's sibling, and we're just letting them live this way. It is completely, it's monstrous, you know? And like, and we don't really think, you know, we see people in our society and you just assume like, oh, they must be lazy. They just want to do drugs. And it's like, but hearing your story, it's like the exact opposite. And then, and you're right. But you think about like a young 22-year-old man who's like, I was doing my job. I'm doing all this stuff normally. My hand gets fucking exploded basically. And now I go from like everything that I'm working hard towards to having it all gone. My hand is gone on my dominant hand. I'm in all sorts of pain. So like,
and you're mentally also tired. So it's like, it's not even like a mentally healthy person dealing with that. Somebody that's like,
that's another great
point.
I
can't do my normal hobbies. I can't do the normal things that I like to do.
How did you
my job?
How did you overcome that then? Because it sounds like for a while it was a little bit of a struggle there for you. And again,
absolutely a struggle.
I mean, what was your path out, and how did you take control of that when it's something that easily captivates people, you know, so strongly?
For me, like I was young, I was still living at my parents' house at that time when that happened. And like I went through all my recovery and everything with my parents. And my mom has always like been very involved, and she helped me through, definitely went through like some deep depression and that kind of stuff in there. And like I still remember like one specific day, like I was just down on myself super hard. You know, everything's fucked up. Like I can't do anything. Like I just fucking lost my career. Like this is what I thought I was going to do forever. Like everything changed. I'm getting fat. I can't move. I can't fucking do anything. I can't write. I can't fucking hardly play video games, you know? Like I can't, all I can do is sit here and watch fucking TV. And my mom came home, saw that I was just fucking in the shit. And she's like, everyone gets a day. You get a day, you had your day, now get your ass up. Let's go to the store. Like, we're going to get up, we're going to move. Like, we're going to do something today. Like, get up and do something. Like, you know, and so now, like, the last year's been pretty tough for my family. We lost my dad a year ago. And so we still say that to each other. We've all had a few days in the last year, and it just kind of became a saying in our family. And, you know, everybody gets a day, but you don't get 2 days.
Yeah.
Like, you don't get to fucking stay down, even if you just get up and go to the fucking grocery store. And that's all we did that day. I fucking didn't do shit all day. Like, I was going through being addicted to pills. I was fucking, you know, felt like I had lost everything. Everything fucking changed. And then, yeah, my mom came home one day and said, everyone gets a day, and you had yours today. So get your ass up and let's go.
Did you notice also when you stopped getting your prescription pills, what was that like? Because you said going through addiction. So did you feel like you were pretty like hooked on them? And then what was the
I got
process
lucky in the sense, which I don't know that it's luck, you know, divine intervention or whatever. I was able to taper myself off after about 5 months of taking like a lot. Got a bottle of 50, and that never lasted more than 2.5 days.
Wow.
And definitely was worse than that at certain points. And but I went to a checkup appointment, and basically my doctor was talking to me about pain meds, and he was like, all right, let's get in here and see. Holy shit. And he was like, well, that's done. And because, like I said, fucking refilling it almost every other day for like 6 months. And yeah, he saw that. And I had already had spent a lot of time alone. Both my my little sister was still in school. My older sister moved out years and years before. My mom and dad were at work all day, so I spent a lot of time not being able to move around much, and I was at home. And like talking to myself, I was like, one day, I don't even know why. I was like, okay, well, like I know these can be pretty addicting. Like I'm gonna dial it back a little bit and make sure that I can kind of get this under control because I don't need this to spiral into something. And I remember that next day when I woke up, I didn't take one all night, and I woke up the next morning. I was waking up in the middle of the night, taking them every 2 to 3 hours for months. Like I didn't have a single night of sleep where I didn't wake up and at least once during the middle of the night take pills in the middle of the night. And I took like my evening one, not one before I went to bed, didn't wake up all night, and I woke up the next morning and I was so sluggish. I can still vividly remember this morning. I woke up and it was like everything looked like it was a fucking movie from the 1940s. Like there's no color. Everything is just gray and dull and nothing fucking, like I didn't care about anything. I felt like I weighed 500 pounds. I felt like I couldn't move. And I was like, oh, holy shit. Like I'm all fucked up today. Like I feel terrible. Like I can't fucking move. And all this stuff. And I was like, okay, well, my hand's kind of hurting. I guess I'll take one. So I took a dose, and it was like, as soon as it hit, it was like the lights turned on.
Wow.
And all of my, like, I felt light. All the heaviness went away, and the lights got turned on. And I was like, holy shit. Like, I'm in it. Like, I'm in the middle of this. And I didn't even know. It's like, I'm in a fuckload of pain. I have access to this thing, makes the pain stop, or at least mitigates it to a reasonable amount. And obviously, I have a propensity to that. And so I just stuck with that and just did that. And then, like I said, I had that morning. Took the pill. Everything changed. Everything, like I said, it was like the lights turned on, all the color just flooded back into life. And it was like in that moment that I realized,
do you find yourself
I gotta do something,
having gone through that? Like when you see people, because it sounds like you zigged instead of zagged, and you had help and you had family members who helped you.
Yeah, I had support.
Yeah.
I was able to talk to my mom about it. Like I told her about that experience, like at the end of the day, which really like made her aware that she's got to be, more involved with weaning out of that.
And so, because what you're describing, I'm really glad. Thanks for sharing this, man. Like, absolutely. Honestly, thank you. Because I'm talking about myself, because like, it's so hard for me sometimes. You see people, because you zigged instead of zagged, and you were able to turn it around, and you were able to, continue your life. And there's so much more that we're going to be able to share about that. But you had help, you had support, and I just think about if you were by yourself, and, it could be such a different story. Like and especially when you're describing, I've never been addicted to anything, and so, knock on wood, I don't want that to be a challenge to the universe. But just describing, like you said, the lights coming on, and when you hear people, it's like, why do they keep doing this? Why do they go back to this? But what you just described, I mean, that makes sense. Like, I can't imagine if everyone took all the joy, all the light, all the happiness out of my life and said, the only way you get to feel that is this right here. It's like, well, shit, no wonder people do it, And, man, it's heartbreaking, dude, because I'm listening to your story, and I was, I've been following again the Spencer Pratt thing down in LA, because what he describes down there, I'm from LA, I grew up out there. I hate it now, dude. I hate everything about it because of what it's turned into, and just how, and that's not just LA. Like, we were in Spokane just about, 2 months ago, month and a half, 2 months ago, somewhere in there. And dude, as soon as we got off the freeway and we started to go downtown, within 150 yards of being off the freeway, there's a literal burning pile of trash in the middle of the street. Mm-hmm. And I just remember thinking, like, what the fuck is this? Like, how do we let this happen? But, you know, and again, as part of that, you know, when we talk about people who are homeless or this and that, and obviously I don't think it's a homeless problem. I think it's a drug problem. I mean, people don't have to like me. It is what it is. Like, it's a drug problem. But listening to you describe this, man, like, I feel like lately I've been trying to, like, I've been more empathetic because I have been thinking, like, oh, these are people. Like, they're not just druggies. They're not just, you know, like, we talk down. It's like, man, these are people. And, like, hearing your story, I'm like, and knowing who you are as, like, as my friend, and I'm like, you could have easily gone the other route, and it could have been you was like, I'm addicted to this forever now, you know? And so it's crazy, man. I didn't know any of that stuff. I really appreciate you sharing that. And so as you turned that corner, and you started making progress, you know, you had your day, your mom, like saying, hey, everyone gets one day. And we're going to move on. And so what did you do to start moving forward, and how did that turn into where it's like, okay, you end up going back to construction, you end up being able to start training again? I'm sure that was a long path. How did that come about?
So, and like, none of this shit is perfect. Like, I got off of painkillers by, I quit smoking weed when I graduated high school because I was like, I'm done smoking weed. Gonna pass drug tests and get a good job. Like, I know I'm not going to college. Like, I don't need anything fucking holding me back. Like, I gotta go forward. And like that, I see a ton of my friends not get good jobs because they all smoke weed. So I got off painkillers by introducing smoking weed occasionally. That turned into a mess of its own. Got super addicted to that too. So I just replaced one thing with another. Yeah, so I tapered everything off. I had that appointment with my doctor. He saw that I was doing too much, and he basically cut me off. He's not like, oh, we're going to start weaning you off or anything. It's like, whoa, no. And I had already been weaning myself off, and like I was able to get to a place where I wasn't taking any more by the time that I still had like a bottle and a half. Mm-hmm. So like I didn't ever run out. Like I didn't have like, you know, obviously withdrawals and everything else. Like not a fucking great experience, but I was lucky in that sense. And I was, you know, also going through it, like being close with my mom, and went through all that. Like I said, started smoking some weed to mitigate the pain with that stuff. Got a job as an insurance agent. Slowly was able to start going back to just doing bag classes with one glove on. So we go to bag class after about 6-7 months. Yeah, like 7 months, I was able to go back to the gym and start doing bag classes. My fingers were so sensitive and brittle that I couldn't put a boxing glove on. Definitely couldn't punch with it. And like I would just go to a bag class and I would just start moving. And I would just, you know, again, just do something. Like I couldn't sit at home anymore. I couldn't not like see people and hang out with people. So like I went and saw my friends, and I would hang out and I would watch practice, and I would do, you know, just kind of slowly reintegrated, and I'd show up to the bag classes and just do what I could for as long as I could, and then tried to do more every week. And then did that. I had a real issue for the first probably 2 years, where my fingers would just break. So, and with where my hand was, like there's no longer anything that anyone can do. It's like the only person that could handle it at that point is like a specialist, or you just take them off. Like, oh, you snapped your finger sideways. Like we can reset it and I'll just be a little more crooked. You know, but nobody's going to put a lot of effort into it at that point. So like I broke, especially my ring finger though, and was the one that was the worst. Like one day I was driving in a drive-through, and my finger like relaxed, and as I was turning the steering wheel, I caught the gear shifter, and my finger was so brittle it broke in the drive-thru, like at Starbucks on Reserve. Just boom. And so that's how easy like my fingers would break for the first while, and then after enough time, builds up and gets strong, and whatever. But
jeez, man.
yeah, so I got a job now typing and writing all the time, being an insurance agent. So relearning how to even use a computer and a mouse and a pen, and like my hand would get so cramped and sore and just exhausted fairly fast. And then I was able to build that up, learned the industry, got pretty into that. I actually met my wife in the midst of that when I was just fat and lazy, wearing one glove with no cardio, completely exhausted.
She looked over and said, I got to have that, huh?
Apparently. She was down there doing bag classes while I was doing bag classes. She just got done with a bodybuilding show. She's like fucking always been.
Yeah, she's always. I've never seen her
jacked.
not in great shape.
She's always in great shape.
Yeah.
And that,
like
back
six
then,
pack,
100%.
Yeah.
Like every day since I've known her.
Uh-huh.
And she's just got done with the bodybuilding show. She's shredded. Had been doing bag classes for a while. She's over there, and like I just heard in the corner like somebody was just thumping a bag. And I looked over and I just saw her, and she was doing it, and probably a little stoned. But I was just like out of it, and I was just like exhausted. Again, doing what I can. It's not much. I got one glove on, fat and tired and lazy, and I just hear this thumping in the corner, and I was like, what the fuck? So it's just like staring at her, and she will even tell people, like she saw me, and she was like,
stranger danger.
Like hid around the other side of her bag, and and apparently did that a couple times, and smiled at her in the gym one time, and that was it.
Oh my gosh.
Which totally different aside, but that was her coming in at that time. It happened in September. We met right after her birthday in the end of March. So in 2017.
Okay.
So like
6-ish months.
6-7 months later.
Nice.
And that was a big thing. A lot of support from her, getting through this weird transition. Like she didn't even know me as a construction guy. She only knew me as an insurance agent. I'd been an insurance agent at that point, or working in the office. I don't think I was an agent yet, but started in like January. Maybe January, like 4 months after it all happened. So yeah, that's all she had known me as. And then, going through all that stuff. And again, just like everybody gets a day, do what you can, get up. And and then, I battled with smoking a bunch of weed way too often. People say you can't get addicted to smoking weed, but you can absolutely do that too. Took that to a completely different extreme. But yeah, that was different. But
man, thank you for sharing that. I want to go in and talk more about, because obviously you've been away from all that for a while, and obviously too with Lauren, how she's helped you. I do have to use the restroom, so let's take a break and we'll come back. All right. I got my little baby bladder over here.
Well, you are over the hill.
I know, Dad. All right, so we're back. I had to go use the restroom. My little over the hill bladder, according to Derrick. So thank you for that. It makes me feel great. So one thing while you were talking about this, I also wanted to ask, and maybe this will lead in because your parents clearly have had a huge impact. So your dad, Marvin, but he went by Tyke. Is that right? Okay. Mm-hmm. What's your mom's name?
Tina.
Okay. So you talked a lot about your mom throughout that process, and how much she helped with everything. How was your dad responding to this, and like how was that for you guys? Because I know you opened up with a little bit about his default emotion being anger. What was that like for you guys?
My dad and I definitely struggled a lot growing up. I mean, specifically in this era, after my accident and all that kind of stuff, like he actually was pretty helpful, and we got along fairly well during this whole time period, which was surprising. But I was like broken down and vulnerable and like needed more help. And so like we started doing some stuff together, like buying cars and that kind of stuff. Just apparently, like everything else, we overdo it. Got in trouble for having too many. But we were like buying and selling some cars, not really talking about working out any of the frustrations or anything that we've had for a long time, but just accepting that this is where it is and kind of just moving forward in that. And then, right, not too long after I recovered and that kind of stuff, like I moved out. So, we got along a little better when we weren't together all the time. But yeah, my mom has always been super helpful. My dad and I definitely had, things were a little rockier on that front growing up.
But it seems, I mean, I know that you and your dad ended up very close, it sounds like, from, our conversations and just the impact he's had. And I know, like, even now with the project you're working on with the Nova and just, after his loss and, losing him last year, what are some of the lessons you learned from your dad? Like, we all learn good things, bad things, there's things I'm learned from my dad on both sides. Like, when you think of your dad, like, what do you think of, and what are some of those things you've taken from him?
Just off the top, like the amount of shit that my dad carried that he didn't have to is that, of course, like only even I was a kid, so like my parents aren't telling me about his, early childhood and all this, crazy stuff that happened in his life that, he didn't really talk to anyone about or get any help with. Like he carried an immense amount of stuff, and like thinking back to like being a kid, I'm just like, I want my dad to throw a baseball with me, like I want him to want to come watch me wrestle and do all this kind of stuff. And like as I've gotten older, and like I feel like that dynamic changes as you get older anyways, like you realize your parents are just people that had people and are trying to figure out how to raise people.
There's like a saying that's like everyone's living life for the first time. Like even your parents are going through it for the first time.
Yeah. And like when you're a kid, you're like, you guys are like so experienced. Like, we should play baseball and you should like be like other dads and that kind of stuff. And it's like, well, other dads didn't grow up like my dad. So definitely, as I got older, gave him some more grace, and we did end up getting closer towards the end. And but the amount of stuff that you can do, like my dad notoriously before all that couldn't finish anything, started a million projects, had a million things, never finished anything. But growing up, like my dad had a job at the university. He worked there for 22 years before he got sick and had to retire. Or as he liked to say, got disabled. He preferred being disabled than medically retired. But he was able to stay consistent, and like everyone has their own idea of like what men should be, and you know that's always like discussed and debated these days. But like my dad had 3 kids. He had a terrible childhood. Didn't know how to handle all of this. Didn't necessarily even want kids, but my mom wanted kids. My dad wanted to be with my mom. He wanted to make my mom happy, so had some kids, keep mom happy, and just didn't really know how to do it. And he definitely struggled with that for a long time. And like I said, as a kid, I was like already angsty and angry and that kind of stuff. So I was just like, he just doesn't like me. And then grew up, got a little more perspective, realized there's a lot more to life than, you know, that. But like, you can carry so much without anyone ever even knowing, without even realizing that you don't have to do that. Mm-hmm. And that's been one of the biggest things that I've learned the last couple years. But like, I guess I do what I do now as far as like all the, as you brought up earlier, like all the random things that I do. Like my dad could do anything. Need to rebuild an engine? You just rebuild an engine. Like you need to build a fence in the backyard, build this crazy, you know, super good fence. Need to work on something in the house, you just work on something. You could just do anything. Something needed to be fixed. Like I'd maybe 2 times that I can remember as a kid did we ever even have a contractor in our house. Like that, it just didn't happen. We also didn't have a lot of money. So it's like, that's, and I've heard it said, you know, a few times now, is like, there's like some reels and stuff that you'll see is like, how do you know how to do so much stuff? And I was like, well, I grew up broke. Yeah. So either you learned how to do it or it didn't get done, you know? So there's no money to be paying people to be coming around fixing stuff.
When you're describing this, I'm like feeling mildly ashamed that I hired you to come hang shelving in my garage. So at our old house, I was like, my wife wanted me
we're gonna talk about the garage. Let's talk about my office.
Yeah, okay. You know,
he was like, no, Josie, you gotta do this because I am not handy. I'm like putting together a chair.
Yeah, I'm like, my wife is the handyman in our relationship. And so at our old house, she was like, when are you going to do this? When are you going to do this? And I was like, kept just thinking in my mind, like, probably fucking never. All right? All right. It's just like making me feel bad every time you bring it up. And I was like, I know I can do something here. I know it's not something you normally do, but it was like, hey, a friend helping a friend, like, sure, Rob, I can come hang your pegboard. And yeah, that's
some bike racks.
Yeah. If you need me to do, I was like, I've put the bike racks up at our new house. All right. Nice. But I was just like,
and they didn't fall down. Obviously.
They haven't fallen down. No, they're doing good. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. I never grew up that handy. And now there's certain things in life that I feel like I'm too far to try and start now. For example, playing golf. I have never once in my life played a round of golf. I've never once done it. And people are always like, how is that possible? And I'm like, it just never happened. But now it's at that point where I'm like, well, I'm not going to go do it now. Like, when I'm fucking looking retarded. Like, no way. I'm not going to do that. Like, same thing with some like.
And you hear how much effort it takes.
I'm afraid I'll get addicted.
Restart jiu-jitsu all over again.
That's how I think of it.
Yeah, that's how I think of it
that's
too.
Literally what
it's like,
I think
I'm fucking obsessed with this thing. It's like, I don't have time for that thing.
That's something that's gone through my mind. And again, I'm scared I'll like it. Mm-hmm. I'm scared that it'll be something that I'm like, I got to get good at it. Because it's even when we talk about the type of video games we play. Like, I don't play the easy games that are like, this is fun. It's like, this sucks. I hate this. But it's like, I'll get this guy. I'll get him. I'll show him this stupid video game. But like,
my wife gives me so much crap when I play video games and I get upset. She's like, this doesn't even look fun. It's like, you don't understand.
Yeah.
It is fun. It is, because it's like, I know I'm getting better still. Like,
right.
It's still something I'm getting better at. But so when it comes to being handy, I've just accepted it. And I've just accepted that, you know what, it's okay to like hire someone to do something I'm just really not very good at. And so, just laughing when you're talking about your dad.
Hang a shelf doesn't make you a man, Rob.
It kind of does a little bit. Josie's not lying about when we had her office. Like, she was the one who brought in the levels and everything. And I was like, I think that looks, she's like, does that look straight? I was like, I think, yeah.
Robert goes,
yeah, it's straight-ish.
Faces look right.
It's straight-ish.
That's how my wife does so much stuff. And like at this point, my wife has learned when she wants me to do something, she just goes to grab a saw and a tape measure and like starts to go do it. And I'm like, oh my God, don't touch it. Like, I don't want to watch this. Like, I'll just do it.
That's like reels you
like,
see too.
Don't touch it.
So I do have a question I wanted to ask you about. So with Lauren, when she was fighting, like, dude, what's that like, being married to someone who's a professional fighter and going through those emotions and going through the camp with her and like, dude, like, because again, I know you've coached a lot of people and, you know, but like when your wife is the one out there, like, what are those emotions like, man?
It's fucking intense. Like, it's being a coach is weird in so many ways, because like when you're fighting, like, you're not worried about getting hurt or whatever, you know, you're not necessarily worried about how all this other stuff is going. You're just doing the thing, you know. But when you're like coaching somebody and you like teach them the right techniques and right responses or different ways to handle certain things, and then they get into a fight and it's like, okay, well, like, we trained for all this stuff, and it's like, whether or not it happens, I have no idea, and I can't dictate or control that. And so you really have to learn to do as much as you can in preparation, and then when it happens, you got to let go. But that said, when your wife is getting kicked in the face and you're in her corner, like, shelving that is a little bit harder. And man, the emotions, like, I got pretty amped in the corner. I'm already protective of our fighters. I'm already protective of my wife. I've been in some arguments and stuff, like during fights, about certain things. The emotions and everything, they get high, but finding a way, you have to find a way to shelf that, because what she wants to do is this thing, and I want her to be able to do that thing, and I want to, and I can help. Like, I've done this a long time. I know a lot. Like, I can definitely help. It's a lot harder to put that on the shelf and just be a coach when it's, you know, a fist fight and your wife is in the fist fight. And I want her to do good, but I don't want her to get hurt. And I'm not going to pull her out of the fight. Like, just because a bad thing happens or it doesn't go our way for a round or whatever, it's like, I have to think of her not as my wife in those scenarios, because I know that she doesn't want me to pull her out of a fight because, you know, some bad shit happens. Well, it's a fist fight. It's going to get wild.
Yeah.
But I can tell you, every single time, it is one of the most nerve-wracking things that I've ever done. Some of the most nervous that I've ever been is when my wife was fighting and I was in the corner. And I was in the corner for almost all of her fights. But like, the feeling of the pit in your stomach just getting so big, and like, you just, yeah, it was wild. It was super intense. But I wouldn't trade it. Like, it was super fun. We got to travel around all over, doing something that we both love to do. You know, connected with a lot of great people. We got to connect ourselves in a way that I feel like a lot of people don't get to. We spent a lot of time together without ever spending any time together. Because like, my wife and I, some people, which, like, you know, Katie and Johan, like, they can train together. My wife and I have not trained together ever.
What do you mean? Like, you guys don't roll again?
Never.
You've never rolled with your wife? Really?
Not for real. Not once. Not ever. We mess around occasionally. It always devolves. she gets so angry so fast. And
why do you think that is?
Because after talking to her over the years, like I'm the one that's supposed to like protect her and look after her and like help her and all that kind of stuff. And when we're doing jiu-jitsu, it's like I'm trying to put you in the worst position to do the best thing for me, and I don't care if you can get out or not.
See,
and for her trying to like
I have thoughts on
deal,
Yeah,
trying to
curious.
justify that in her own head. She's like, "You're supposed to protect me." I was like, "Well, right now I'm trying to break your arm." So
it's crazy. Well, I feel like too for women is like, because I've kind of heard like that perspective too. But I think it's also frustrating, right? Because like she trains so hard and she works so hard at what she does. And there's just kind of these moments, and I think like every girl's been through that. And even me, like, I don't train, I don't care, I don't want to. It does not sound appealing to me whatsoever. But every single time, like, you have a girl that's like, oh, I'm going to wrestle you and whatever, there's always this moment where she's like, if somebody wanted to, there's no amount of fighting that I could do in this moment that would protect me from this person. Yeah. And that's such, like, a frustrating feeling is when you're, like, pinned down and you're stuck and you realize, like, I could literally do anything, play dirtiest, and I still would. There's nothing I can do. I can't move.
Wife was professional, like, but even before when she was still fighting amateur and everything, and she actually, technique wise, she probably still is because she's also a black belt. She's been training a long time, but technique wise, my wife is probably more technical than I am still, and she's got great technique and all this kind of stuff.
She's pretty good too. Yeah,
she is.
I'm just
like
hearing you say that.
Fundamental technique. She does things right. I do a lot of things wrong, but they work for me because I have attributes that make up the gap.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Whereas she's small, she's a female, she's strong. Not as strong as me.
No.
Not gonna be.
Never
has been. And that's where it gets frustrating. She is really good.
She really good.
She literally beats grown men.
Dude, like, she's beat me up multiple times.
Handily. I've seen it so many times. We roll,
I've experienced
zero
it.
chance.
Yeah.
Zero chance. You have no chance on your best day. I will stop it, and as aggressive as you can get, I can be more. As strong as you get, I'll still put you on your back. Like, even if you're on top, I will pick you up and move you.
Yeah.
And she gets, with me, it's just like an overreaction, and she just gets very frustrated. And like I had learned really, really early on in our relationship, it's like there is zero benefit. I can't even attempt to try a technique that I'm trying to work through in my brain at my house because she will fight me every time. She just resists, and she just gets, well, I'm going to do this. And I was like, I just need you to be a body. Like, don't do anything. Just like, let me try this. And then every single time, she's like, Half the time I hug her in the hallway, she's like, gets an underhook. I'm like, stop.
I'm just going to clip this section without people knowing you're talking about jiu-jitsu. He was like, I just need you to be a body. See what happens?
I'm tired.
Just let me do what I need to.
Oh, God. I'm just kidding. Sorry, Josie. Sorry. Oh, she's had some of these with other people where it's like, why am I here again? Like, oh, my God. That's why we had to split the podcast up to be its own thing and not tied to just work, because I was like, we can't have this always with I just want to be able to talk and be authentic without it being like tied to work, you know? Mm-hmm. But no, man, that's interesting that the way you bring that up. Like, for me, when it's anytime I ever roll with a girl, I'm like, I'm going to give enough so I'm a good partner, but I'm playing defense. I'm not, because like, I know exactly what you said. Now, don't get me wrong. If freaking Helena Cravar came in, she would snap my leg and make me look stupid. And I'm not saying there's no girls.
Roll hard.
Yeah. There's girls like that legitimately I would not have a chance again. I fully acknowledge that because there's professional athletes who this is what they do. But again, at the same level, it's just boys are boys and girls are girls. I know that's a controversial thing to say nowadays, but that is what it is. Mm-hmm. But even having rolled with your wife, like, it's been a while. I haven't probably rolled with her, I don't know, a year and a half or so. But as I've gotten better, I notice, like, because there's times, dude, earlier on, she fucking ragdolled me.
There is, especially like if you don't have a lot of experience, you have to try.
Yeah, dude.
There is no, I'm going to let her work.
Bro.
It's like, no, she's going to let you work.
Yes. And that was, I noticed that like the first couple of years when I lived on this side of town and I'd come to your guys' gym more often. So there was times where she was ragdolling me, but I've noticed too, like in the same thing, like with Katie, like we were just talking about, she ragdolled me a few times too. But when I just stopped in your guys' gym this last week, like now I'm trained long enough where it's like, you're not just going to catch me unless you're that white belt with this, straight ankle lock, God damn that kid. I'm glad he caught me with that though.
He's living rent free.
Yeah, dude, he is. I've been thinking about that, but again, because again, as a guy, as a girl, like I'm just stronger. I'm just bigger. I can do these things, but I thought about that too. I was like thinking about your fighting and I was like, man, I wonder what it's like being married to someone who's fighting professionally and just going through all that and the highs and the lows of that. Because again, that's gotta be just, when it's great, it's got to be great. When it's not great, it's got to be like, oh, and we all watch fights and it's one of those things that like when we're watching fights, like you watch UFC and you see this big explosive moment where someone gets laid out or something and like the fans are going crazy, the commentators are losing, but then like there's the people in the corner of the other dude and you watch their faces and you watch their reactions. It's like fucking heartbreaking, and it's like, oh, there's two sides to this, like
your gut falls out. Like the feeling of just when something goes wrong, in a fight, like being in the corner, and I've trained and I know how to train and fight and do all this kind of stuff. And like, I can see what should happen or what maybe could have prevented some of those things. Like no chance. Yeah. Like you just get clean knocked out. It's probably going to happen. But certain situations, especially when it comes to grappling and stuff, there's almost always something to do. And just when something like that happens, you're like, oh.
Yeah.
And it's just, and like I only talked about like in the fight, like the weight cuts.
Tell me
my
about
wife
let's
and I
go through
have
weight
never
cuts.
argued. We don't argue that often, like hardly at all. But
can you explain? Weight, yeah, because
my wife has always hated water. She always hates water. If I walk near my wife, like when we're at a lake, like she walks away from me every time because she doesn't trust that I'm not going to push her in. She's right. But she, like, I can't even get close to her. She's always been like super worried about water. Well, now she also hates hot tubs. So when you cut weight, there's lots of ways to do it. But we would do Epsom salt baths for a lot of it, at least at the end. And she gets so angry. She's already cutting weight. She's already not eating. She's, by the end of it, you're not eating salt. You're dehydrated. You're trying to get more dehydrated. And she already doesn't like water. And she doesn't like hot water. And I'm telling her she has to stay in there. And like everything else is like, yeah. I've been cussed out either more times involving water, like when we were really trying to do ice baths and get good at recovery, and like I would literally help her into the ice bath, and that didn't go so well. Yeah. And same thing, trying to keep her in the hot water to cut weight. There's cuss words and tears, and things are a little wild, and then it gets done. It's like, I'm exhausted now. I didn't even.
Does she ever say she's sorry for what she said or did, or she just lets water under the bridge?
Not super often. Yeah,
no. Girls, why don't girls apologize, Josie?
We're not in the wrong.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, of course
why
not.
Why would he apologize?
Never been wrong.
Yeah, that's. But you must be hanging out my wife.
Apologizing is for people that are wrong.
Par for the course for those kind of things. But yeah, I mean, like the emotions and everything that go through a fight camp, like it's just hard. Like arguably the hardest sport in the world. The level of training that you have to be to just be an amateur fighter getting in the cage if you actually give a shit is like so high. The amount of preparation, especially for MMA. You got to learn so many things. Obviously, you can just ignore everything, get in fights on the street, and then just decide that you're going to go in here and just fight.
You're going to get fucked up real quick.
If you watch any of the local fights, all of those dudes, for the most part, get smashed or they do okay until they face somebody that actually is a blue belt and trains and, you know, actually knows how to do some stuff, and they just get worked.
What would you say for people out there watching? Like, this is the age-old question: best martial art for a street fight. Your opinion? Obviously, avoid street fights. We're not telling people to fight, but just what do you think?
Wrestling.
Wrestling.
You're the pacing, and I'm sure you'll relate to this. My thought on any physical altercation outside of a gym, there's no rules, it's just protection. The only thought that I have is quick, violent action. Mm-hmm. And what's faster than running into somebody, picking up, and putting them on their head?
That's fair.
Solves that issue pretty quick.
That's fair. Yeah.
Okay, I have a question. So when we're talking about weight cutting and gaining, because I know that you have to weigh in, what's like, okay, I've heard a lot of controversy on this, because I don't know a ton about wrestling, but this is something I have heard, is that when it comes to kids cutting weight, like what's your thought process on that? Because there's some discourse.
Yeah. Especially kids cutting weight. Like, I don't.
Because I know that parents are like, nope, you can't eat. We got to cut.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Like, they're, especially, like, as you get older, if you've actually watched somebody cut weight for real, like, it is not good ever for any reason. Like, nothing good is happening when the only goal is to weigh less to maybe have a slight advantage. Rather than, like, especially kids, like, just wrestle.
Yeah.
Just get good at wrestling.
And, like,
go out and
restricting
lose.
food
Like,
is
who
crazy.
cares? Like, you're a kid.
Yeah.
Like, you're so sensitive to those kinds of things, especially, like, you know, like your growth plates, and you're still growing, and your brain development and all these kind of things. To starve yourself in such a vulnerable time of your life, like I said, especially as a kid. Adults, even like high schoolers, you want to make those decisions. Like, my mom would have full ass Thanksgiving dinner. She wouldn't restrict anything. She would give me shit that I wasn't eating. Like, she didn't agree with me cutting weight at all. Mm-hmm. I had to sit at the Thanksgiving table while drinking water.
That would suck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rough. My mom did not agree with cutting weight. But like I said, for kids, I just think it's unreasonable. Like,
especially, you know,
too, like, you wrestle a kid that's bigger than you, and he beats you, and he outweighs you by 30 pounds when you weigh like 60 pounds. Yeah.
And
like,
his friends will come over and they'll be like, I can't eat. My mom won't let me eat. And I'm like,
that's crazy.
I think, and I just think, you know.
Well, that goes back to, we're in this weird flux where there's so many parents who want to live vicariously through their kid now. And especially with social media, and everyone wants their kid to be the next whatever. Mm-hmm. And Brad, so you obviously know Brad, my coach, when I was teaching the kids, you know, like, when you start instructing, it changes a lot. And I've learned, and it's everyone says this, but I have learned so much more about Jiu-Jitsu by just teaching it, mm-hmm. and having to think through, well, why do I do this? And how can I explain this to someone so they understand it clearly? And I teach the kids class, which is perfect for me because the kids class is the basics. We're not doing really anything crazy, but it mm-hmm. forces me to, like, teach things that work simply, you know? Mm-hmm. But for a while, I don't know, I wasn't, like, going in a different direction, but I think Brad just, like, wanted to make sure I didn't go down this path. And he like pulled me aside one day, and he'd sent me something, and then we were talking about it. He sent me a reel, and then we were just talking. He's like, well, what's your favorite part about jiu-jitsu? Why are you training, Robert? And I'm like, and again, I'm a hobbyist. I will never be more. There's levels to this shit. I'm on the fucking hobbyist mediocre level. All right. And like, and I'm good with that. That's all I'm ever to do. So like, I talked to him. I was like, dude, I'm just here to have fun. I want to hang out with my buddies. I love having something like a good workout. I love learning. I love listening to good music. That's what I'm here for. And he's like, yeah, that's what all of us are here for. He's like, so why would we take that away from the kids? Because so many parents, like, we've had parents come in and get mad because we're not, like, it's not more. Oh, we should be doing that. Why aren't you rolling more? And then
why are you playing games?
Yes. We had this one dad who, that's exactly what he said. Well, why are you playing games at the end of class? Like, most days we would keep time for sparring, but there's a class right afterwards. So sometimes it doesn't work out. And as the coach, Like sometimes I'm like, these kids need a break. We had just done 10 minutes of
tag.
Yeah. We just did a 10-minute guard drill for these kids. And so like they're cycling in and out because we do 3 groups. And if you sweep or submit, like from bottom, you stay in, or if you pass on top, you stay in, right? We did 10 minutes of that. And these are kids, right? And it's not a lot of time, but we had already done the full class and we ran out of time. And I was like, we're going to play a game at the end because they worked hard. And he got upset about it. And number one, I was like, well, bro, why don't you come out here? You want to fucking do this? Like, why don't you train? Because you have no idea what's even happening right now.
Right.
And 2,
you
it's
watch
like
UFC fights and you're trying to make your kid into that.
Bro,
and you have no idea what it even takes.
And
to start at the most basic level. You don't even know what you're watching, but you think you know something more than I know.
And that's the other thing too. It's like these kids are there to have fun. And let's be honest, at this stage, none of them are trying to be ADCC gold medal champions. Like that is not, that's like saying, oh, my kid's going to play professional basketball. That's like less than 1% of people. You're talking about the best of the best in the world now. Yeah. And so how about we just acknowledge that realistically, they're probably never going to do that. And that's okay because I'm never going to do that. And I'm pretty damn happy with the way my life is going. All right. And so I'd rather give them a passion and a love for something that they can do for however long they decide to do it. Exactly. And also the self-confidence. Like I've seen this with Lincoln lately because you were describing earlier, like how you didn't like to make people cry when you were wrestling, like the people you're going with. Lincoln went through that and he's kind of past that now, and he's young, but he's been training for 3 years now. Like it's fucking crazy. Like little guys, like it's kind of crazy to think about. Like he's been doing this since he was 5 and he's 8 now and he goes twice a week, and we train at home a little bit here and there. We watch a lot of jiu-jitsu. So he's figuring stuff out. And so, but he was probably about 6 months or so ago, he started going softer because all the people that were his size were the girls. And he just like started going so soft that the girls were beating him, and then he felt bad. And then he was going against this other kid in the class who's the same age, same size. And he had never met this kid because he was training in the younger kids class and Lincoln's always trained in the bigger kids class because that's the one I teach. And so Brad's like, yeah, he can come. But he's the youngest kid in that, other than these 2 girls. And so this kid, like it was the first time they rolled and Lincoln's like thinking like, okay, let's do a little like light flowish roll. And you know how it is, dude. Freaking full send, white belt. This kid just is like, I'm going for it. He pins Lincoln and he's just like laying on. And Lincoln just, it took him the majority. These are only 3-minute rounds and he was pinned for probably 2 of them. And it really bothered him. And he was like, what the fuck, dude? Like I could see it in his eyes. He's like, what was this all about? And he was all frustrated. He was like, hey, bro. And we were talking about it. I was like, bro, turn it up. Put it on him. Put it on him a little bit. Show him. All right. And he's like, okay. And so the next class, oh man, like just ragdolled this kid. And the kid was like, let's go again, and did another one and just ragdolled him again. And then I had to like dial Lincoln back because he went full send, and he was just like rolling through kids. And now he's in this happy spot where like he's been like teaching people like, hey, let's do a flow roll. That means like, no, that's too hard. Like, let's go lighter. And seeing him have this confidence, like even just recently, I know Katie's going to be mad if she sees this part, but like he got in trouble at school recently because, like boys are being boys. And one of these kids like scratched him and like Lincoln fucking threw him down on the ground and got on top of him and was like, hey, don't do that. Like, and he got called to the principal. I was like, on my mind, I was like, well, the kid probably shouldn't have scratched him. But I've also seen too, like we were at baseball and the gentleman who's our coach, super nice dude. And he's a police officer in town, just a great coach. And his son's super athletic, just a great baseball player. But his son was like, after one of the games, like, hey, let's play takedown or let's play tackle or something. And so he's trying to tackle Lincoln and Lincoln like hip tosses him. Yeah. Nice. Gets him to the ground, mounts him. The kid rolls over. He takes his back. He gets his hooks in and he's not choking at all. He's just like locking him down. And the dad's like, stand up. And the kid's like, I can't, I'm trying. And Lincoln's just laughing and smiling. And I was just like, because we were just earlier that day, I was talking to the parents about doing jiu-jitsu. And I was like, it's so good for them. Like so much good stuff from it. But Lincoln's starting to see like, oh, when I do this against people who don't train, like this is like a superpower. And it's just such a great thing for young men, I think, to have because like they need that outlet. And I'm glad he's learning about like we were this week at our class, we're working a Kimura trap, from closed guard. And so we're going in and I'm very clearly explaining, and I love watching because now we've got a good group of kids who have all been training for a couple years. and watching them understand like, okay, I get this. I because we were talking about doing it from hip up sweep, and then they push back in, I capture their arm, I come up and over. And I love the way that Gordon teaches it. So Gordon, like the GOAT, I don't care what anyone says. He's like the greatest no-gi competitor of all time. Marcel is up there, but I think Gordon's better. But like the way he talks about like, okay, when you have the Kimura, it's not like the bend. It's like, okay, we need to pull out the slack. We need to have their shoulders pinned. And so when you're doing from the bottom, there's a different way, obviously with your leg across, but like showing the kids that and watching them see, like the kids who are bendy and watching them see that as soon as their shoulders are pinned and we pull that up and we start just rotating, they're like, oh, and that aha moment of like, I could catastrophically break someone. And I was like, this was just yesterday, watching these kids like have that moment, and kids who sometimes are a little slow to tap being like, tap, 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 like very quickly, like understanding this is dangerous.
That's one of the craziest feelings too. Not 100% the same, but like seeing when you're doing kids classes and stuff, because like I don't do a lot of kids classes. I only work with very few kids. But sometimes it feels like in class you're doing games and they're like messing around. They're like not really doing
keep this
a lot.
right up in your. Sorry, I could just hear this. Yeah.
But you can just day to day, you don't know that they're really grasping all this stuff, and then you just have a moment sometimes, like not exactly like that one, but you're just like standing back and watching these kids, and you're like, they're just messing around. We play tag and we do this thing, and then randomly one day you just watch them, and they're like,
that was right.
They know this.
Yeah.
Like they can do this. Like they mess around and, they're having fun and being kids and all that kind of stuff. And then you just randomly one day, you just see it and you're like, I didn't even know that it sunk in. Like you can do this. Like you do this.
Yesterday, one of the young men in our class, his name is Elijah. Elijah's probably 11. Elijah's been training for about a year and a half, 2 years. And we were in the gi yesterday, and dude, we're doing a guard drill, and fucking perfect. He took the person, he broke the guard. He took the person he was rolling with, put him into it from seated to supine, got the grips, moved the legs perfectly, toriandoed while pinning the legs, went all the way to north-south and locked it in and just settled in. Perfect. Like exactly the way you would want it done. And I did exactly, I was like, oh my God, he's learning. Like, this is great. And like, I've seen too with Lincoln, where Lincoln will do this thing where he kind of does like this little, like a Toriando, but I've seen him do like a float pass where it's like that quick hip switch.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you don't know how to do that unless you've learned how to do that. And it's just so crazy seeing little kids do these motions. And I'm like, oh damn, dude, like that was awesome.
Some adults struggle with that
stuff. And it's just fun, like watching the kids like just themselves get better. And it is nice. We have another young man in our class. His name is Rainer. And dude, just watching them go from position to position where it's like they're starting to put things together in sequences. And it's like, these are like 9 to 12-year-old kids for the most part. And you're like, bro, if you don't quit and just stick with this, like that's what's kind of crazy to think about, because you're seeing that now. Like you see like the Rotolo brothers, like Dorian Oliveras. He's probably one of my favorite grapplers to watch. Cassia Mora, you ever watch her? She's coming up on UFC. Dude, yeah. She is, again, that's another thing with jiu-jitsu is that like, these girls are killers, bro. And the girls are like, I am guilty of this. I'll admit it. I remember when UFC started having females fight and I was like, oh, who's going to watch this? I was wrong. These girls are fucking killers,
Some
bro.
Some of the most intense fights that you watch, or violent fights that you watch, are female fights.
Joanne? What's her name?
Joanna
versus what is the Chinese girl?
Zhang Weili.
Yes, bro.
Yeah.
That fight
was wild.
Her face was rearranged.
Yeah.
Like that was an insane.
She was literally
fight.
Growing a head out of her own head.
What a great fight, though.
Yeah,
like,
it was phenomenal.
That was one of the greatest fights I have ever watched. And that's the thing too, is like for people like this whole UFC jiu-jitsu, I'm excited for it because I think I love where jiu-jitsu is at right now. I really like what Craig Jones did, what he did with CJI. I think ADCC needed that, but I've also I don't think it's going to disrupt ADCC because ADCC is ADCC. ADCC is the greatest matches I've ever. Most of the greatest matches. There are some great ones on CJI. But like what's happening now with the UFC and what they're doing, I love that they've got what they call the bowl, the pit, whatever you want to say. But like this Cassia Mora girl, dude, she freaking hits these arm drags and like smashes girls' faces into the mats.
Oh yeah.
And
just full commit.
Dude, it's so cool to watch. And I'm excited to see where jiu-jitsu is going, but then I'm also excited for gi jiu-jitsu right now too, because like you watch like Tynan and he's just, I don't think anyone could stop him. Like Tynan Dalper, like he is so freaking good right now. And I just feel
it's almost like an untapped, everyone got so into no gi now that like a lot of people kind of forget how to use the gi, and the people that have kind of stuck with it, like if you dip your toes back into that water, the kids, the guys, that have been consistent with it, that continue to train in the gi, even if they're competing in no gi and all that stuff, like they didn't give it up. And it is a different game.
Do you prefer gi or no gi?
I mean, my natural instinct is to say no gi. My journey was a little bit different in jiu-jitsu. Like I didn't even actually start training in the gi until like 6 years in. I'd only worn a gi top like twice.
Wow.
Before I went to zoo. And then I met my wife, and about a year and a half after we'd been together, she convinced me to come over to zoo. And then now I've been there for like 8 years or something. But yeah, I've grown to enjoy the gi because it was beat into me by my coach in MMA, and no gi was just like, we don't do that. Like there's no point in doing that. But I also realized too that like at our gym, or when I was doing more MMA training and stuff, like I never have a problem getting a match, like, or getting around with somebody. Like no one cares. Everyone's willing to scrap all the time. You go to a jiu-jitsu gym, you're 240 pounds, you've been training for 5 years and wearing a white belt, like not super likely to get as many rounds with people, because they're like, I don't need you smashing me. I don't need that. Like I gotta go to work tomorrow.
Exactly. That kind of smashing. Yeah.
And I am like, obviously I'm not a white belt, but I am a white belt because like the things that I learned how to do were effective, but they were not fundamental. That's part of the reason that I don't teach fundamentals classes and kids classes, because not that I don't have fundamentals, but like my jiu-jitsu is not built on fundamentals. It's built on being effective.
But your jiu-jitsu now is very technical.
Well, for sure.
Now your jiu-jitsu,
like I said, I've been like 8 years. I've been in the gi. Yeah. Like I went through my entire belt progression. I didn't come in at 5 years and like get a blue belt or a purple belt or something. Like I started basically at 0 in the gi because I was absolutely a white belt in the gi. And I started same as everybody else does, except I'd been doing it for like 5 or 6 years before I basically restarted, and learned all my fundamentals and did all that kind of stuff. But like when I came in, like, dude, I knew how to do a Kimura. I had a terrible side control to be put in. I was very heavy, and I had an arm choke and a Kimura.
Yeah.
Don't ask me to do an arm bar.
That's all I've got still.
Don't ask me to do a triangle. Like, and I could do leg locks because I started learning leg locks from day one. And that's what I could do. And I could put pace and pressure from wrestling. And I know very few submissions, and I'm going to try and surf the top. I don't know how to fight on the bottom. I know how to get off the bottom. I don't know how to fight from the bottom. But being in the gi, going to the zoo, and really learning those fundamentals absolutely rounded out my game.
That's awesome.
Made me better at fighting, made me better at jiu-jitsu, and definitely ate some humble pie.
Dude,
especially wearing the gi.
I did not like the gi at first at all.
I've grown to like it.
I love the gi.
All that
I love
was to say. I have grown to enjoy the gi, and now I definitely I like to spend time in the gi. Whereas like even when I was coming up wearing the gi, I was like, as soon as I can take this thing off, I do.
Yeah.
And now I find myself putting it on. So
I kind of have gone through that same thing where I really liked no gi first just because I had no technique and no skill, and I hated that people could slow me down. Of stuff. Yep. And my game was very like an outside passing type style of game. And with the gi, if someone just grabs your freaking collar or they get any grips on you, it's like, well, that's very hard to do now. But then the whole thing where people are like, oh, you know, people aren't going to be wearing a gi in the streets or anything if you're using jiu-jitsu for self-defense. Honestly, I think gi jiu-jitsu is more relevant to self-defense than no gi jiu-jitsu. Because if I get in a fight, especially anywhere, whether they're just wearing a shirt or here in Montana, like I'm grabbing their jacket. I'm doing everything I can to use that to do what I need to do. And so
it gives you more leverage over their body versus a wrist control. You grab onto like somebody's wearing a long sleeve shirt or they're wearing, a sweatshirt or a coat, even worse.
Oh God, you're I'm going to have fun with that.
Yeah. But like you grab their wrist, sure, they can get out of that. If you never broke a grip in a gi, bro, if I get a hold of it, you're not just going to have it back.
Dude, the thing that's so fun with the gi too, I just love lapel chokes, bro. I love just, or like even just like when you're starting to get like the jacket and you just start like that's a little journey I've been going down lately. I've been trying to be much more creative with my jiu-jitsu and just try things that I haven't done before. And so, you know, just when you start messing with people's jacket and you start looping and they're like, oh, what are you doing? They just do stupid shit.
Oh yeah.
Like, dude, I'm not doing anything.
They like lift their hips up to like look around.
And I'm like, dude,
I love the Bravo series.
Yes. Yeah.
It's my favorite. Cause you untuck their jacket and you bring it behind their back. And they're like, what is going on over back there?
Nothing,
it's like,
idiot.
I don't even have to do anything.
Nothing.
And you're going to overreact.
Yes.
And that's what makes it so fun.
I saw that
I don't even have to do anything and you'll mess up.
Brad, 2 weeks ago when we were doing stuff, because again, this is a new path I've been going down. And he started grabbing my jacket and the old Robert would panic. And I was like, but I was on top and I was like, all right. And again, I was like, so I just started grabbing his and doing stuff. And I feel like I saw this look in his face, like, I've never had you do this to me before. I was like, yeah, I'm not. And in my mind, I was like, that's nothing. I know that grip is nothing back there. Like, okay, I have this, I'm on top and I'm going to start using this here, you know? And so it's just a fun game to play, man. But, dude, we've been going for, well, I mean, like 2 hours and 20 minutes. I'm having a good time with this, but, I don't even know where we go from here. I feel like I just keep bringing it back to jiu-jitsu. I'm sorry. I do this every podcast and I need to stop because I'm sure there's a lot of people who would love to watch and not be like, hey, maybe just don't talk about jiu-jitsu so much. But I think I do know where I want to like kind of start to land this plane because, you know, as I mentioned a little bit to you and I haven't really talked about yet, but the goal with this podcast is I want people to really see that you don't have to be making $1 bazillion to live a great life, that success can look like so many different things. And I think that especially with you opening up and sharing your story to kind of how you've gotten where you've gotten now. I mean, you're self-employed, you run a company there, you know, you run a construction company that allows you to provide for your family. You have an awesome life. You're a Jiu-Jitsu Black Belt, you have a successful marriage. Like you've got, like as someone looking from the outside looking in, you've overcome a lot of adversity, like, you know, just with what you were talking about with your hand and everything that led to, you know, like if you were looking back and you were either talking to a younger person who's like, hey, how do I go about, or even if you were talking to maybe you as a high schooler, maybe you're talking to 15, 16-year-old Derrick and you're like, hey, this is what's ahead. And this is the advice I think you should have. And you're, you know, like, what do you think you would tell that person, or what do you think you would say to someone in that position?
Well, definitely, and I've already said it and we already hit on it, and it's been a big thing in my life, but, you know, you do get a day. Like, it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to not have a good day. Like, what's not okay is to let that become a bad week, to become a bad month, to become a bad life, right? It's, life is going to throw a lot of stuff at you, and it's okay to, like I said, to not be okay, to not have everything look perfect, for everything not to be perfect, but do what you can, keep moving forward. Take the next opportunity that's in front of you. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be the perfect job. It doesn't have to be exactly where you want to go. But take advantage of every opportunity that you can. try and keep as much of an open mind with eyes wide open. Always looking for something more, still looking for something better, but also being grateful for what you have, where you've come from, and where you want to go. So you still keep your eye on the prize. You still keep your eye on progress, but you have to also not be so forward thinking that you don't spend time where your feet are. Because if you look forward or you spend too much time looking backwards, you're just going to be anxious, or you're going to be nervous, or you're going to be unfocused. And the best thing that you can do is, like I said, eyes wide open, understand that not everything's going to be perfect all the time. Take advantage of what's in front of you and try to be where your feet are.
Yeah. That's huge, man. Well, I am so thankful, man. This has been just, it's so much fun for me to have my friends on the podcast, because I feel like, as good as I know you guys, like I felt the same way after Sam came on, that I just feel like I get to know you guys so much better. And, you know, it's like, appreciate you opening up, man, and being so transparent. And I know that what you're talking about, it's going to help people, man. Like, I think people need to hear these types of things. And I think that people need to hear that, like you said, it is okay to have a day. And going back to the very first thing you were talking about is like, hey, you get to choose to control your emotions. And that's something that I think is missing a lot in today's day and age. It's always someone else's fault. You know, it's always somebody else to blame. And what I want for my son, and for, I just think that the world to understand, is like, as soon as you give away, as soon as it's someone else's fault, you give away the power to fix it. Mm-hmm. And if that's how you want to live your life, you will forever be a victim. You will forever be at the whim of whatever situation comes your way, no matter what. And it's even like what we were talking about with wives, you know, like, because I think this is something we do, and as husbands, is like, we look at what we're doing with our wives. It's like, I'm doing all this. How is this not enough? And, you know, we were talking off camera beforehand, because it's always hard as a husband, like, you know, trying to figure out the emotions of where women are at, and what's really needed from us as their husband. And it's like, the analogy we were using was like, it's like eating rabbit. You know, you can eat all the rabbit in the world and still starve to death. And that's kind of the analogy I think about as far as your marriage, or, you know, life, is that you can do all the right things, but especially when it comes to relationships with your spouse, like, but if they're not the right things for her, and it's not being received well, then you can do a lot and still fail, you know? And so I think everything you've talked about has just kind of shown that there's like, you've done so much, and you've worked hard, and you've done very difficult things throughout your life, but you've always been willing to pivot and change course and self-correct. And also, it sounds like just willing to admit when you needed help too, man. And I think that was a super powerful, just, I don't know, man. I'm excited to have you on again in the future, because like, I think that it's going to be inspiring for so many different people, man. Like, so many different people can take what you just talked about, and people who've gone through some type of major catastrophe, people who are maybe working with someone who is struggling with something, and just, you know, I'm sure if we ever got a chance to talk with your mom about what that time was like, that she'd have a whole different perspective and be able to offer insights of like how challenging it was, you know. But like, I'm inspired, man. So thank you, dude. Thank you for coming on, and I really appreciate it. But I know we didn't really talk much about your work, but why don't you just, if people were interested, I mean, obviously we talked a little bit about your contracting business with your primary focus being on tile, but as someone who's had Derrick work from, you know, do some work for me, like, he can do a lot of different things, even if you have no handy skills and you just need him to hang some bike racks. All right. I appreciated you doing that for me, dude. I remember calling, you're like, I normally wouldn't, but sure, dude. I was almost like, I felt like it was like a pity help. Like, all right, little buddy, I got you. But, yeah, man, if someone was looking for any type of, you know, construction work, like, why don't you just take a sec, talk about what your main focus, what you specialize in, projects that you are able to help people with, because when we do send these out, I send them out to all of our clients. And so, you know, we've got a pretty decent email size list that this goes out to, but, yeah, what do you focus on, and how could someone contact you if they wanted to maybe use your services?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have like a Google profile, you know, I don't, run a big company. I pretty much work solo at this point. Like, if I get into some bigger stuff, I pull in help from other friends that are self-employed and that kind of stuff, and we'll kind of collaborate on some stuff. But yeah, for the most part, I do tile work. Spent a long time doing a lot of floors as well, from everything from glue down to hardwood and everything else in between. So still occasionally get into some floors. But yeah, as you said, mostly these days I focus on doing tile. Best way to get a hold of me is just contact me, by phone, and just connect. See what you got.
If someone Googled you, could they find your number and all that good stuff?
Probably not.
Someone, if you want to talk to Derrick, just so you don't have to put your phone number out there, reach out to me and I'll make sure they get it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mostly, most everything that I've done has just been word of mouth. And honestly, I'm really proud of that. That's awesome. Like I don't advertise. I don't go around town like dropping business cards and that kind of stuff. Like my goal is to focus on the job that's in front of me, like we talked about, towards the beginning of this whole thing, like the way that I sequence things, the way that I do things. One of my mentalities that overarches into everything in my life is just how you do one thing is how you do everything. Mm-hmm. And like, that's the way that I approach my work. I don't rush to put something out faster. Like, I'm not going to be the fastest guy. I'm never... Like, I try not to, as much as I can, focus on that stuff. Like, I don't focus on the money or any of that. Like, I focus on the product at the end of it because, like I said, I am proud of the fact that I don't have a Google page. I don't put myself out there like that. Like, I stay very busy because the people that I do work for want to tell other people about that. So when somebody asks about them, it's no question, that I get passed along because I did a good job for them. Like I said, really proud of that. That's my focus. And like I said, mostly on tile, but yeah, I can do a lot more.
Yeah. I mean, even when we sold our last house, I remember you like looking at our deck and helping us get some things figured out there. Like, you're very...
installed a couple lights. Yeah. Did a few things around the
house.
house.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yes.
Just working on your honey-do list.
Just all the things that I should be able to do as a husband, but can't. So, but man, thank you so much for coming on. And then guys, thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it. If you want to catch up with Josie and I, you can reach out to us on letstalkwealthpodcast.com. You can also email us. You can visit if you wanted to talk more about not the podcast, but what we're doing with our financial advising company, that would just be at nexuswealthmanagement.org. You can reach out and connect with both of us there. Josie, anything?
No, I think we covered it.
Yeah, this has been fun. Hey, man, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you guys on the next episode.